Aita for not going home after giving birth because my husband missed it to help our friends. I, 32, just had our second baby a few days ago, and instead of going home, I asked to be discharged to my sisters. I don't know if that makes me an or overly emotional or whatever, which is why I'm here. Some background: my husband, 33, and I were teen parents. We had our daughter at 18 and 19, she's 14 now. It's been a long road, and we waited a long time to feel ready to go through it all again. This baby was very much planned and wanted. But ever since I hit the third trimester, I've felt kind of alone in it. My husband started spending a lot of time with this couple we know. They're in a similar boat, they had their first as teens too, and just had their second recently. I get that it's a lot for them. Their oldest is 17, and they weren't planning on another, so he's been helping them out. But it went from a nice gesture to almost daily visits. Grocery runs, watching their newborn while they nap, fixing stuff around their house, bringing food over, and sometimes with our daughter tagging along, sometimes without even letting me know he was going. Meanwhile, I was trying to keep up with everything at home, going to appointments alone, dealing with the mess that is late pregnancy. I brought it up to him more than once, and every time, he'd either say I was exaggerating or that he was there, just not in the way I wanted him to be. He kept saying I was being territorial or weirdly competitive about them needing help, which made me question myself even more. I also started noticing changes in our daughter. She's an ice dancer and has an intense schedule, and after going with her dad to help at their house, she'd come back totally spaced out. Quiet. Eating less. I figured she was just tired, but it started to feel off. She almost fell during practice one morning because she was so drained, and her coach made her sit out the rest of the week. That was a big wake-up call for me. I told my husband that enough was enough and we needed to pull back, not just for me, but for her too. He apologized, said he'd keep the visits shorter, only go when it was really needed. The visits were hardly shorter, but my daughter seemed less tired, and I could actually go to sleep with my husband some nights, so I counted it as a win. When I went into labor, I called him from the car while my sister drove me to the hospital. No answer. Texted. Nothing. He showed up about 4 hours after the baby was born with a slushie for me, said he was sorry, but the other couple had a rough night and he didn't want to just leave them stranded. I didn't know what to say. I didn't want a big scene right there in the hospital, but when I could be discharged, I just had my sister take home since my husband wasn't there. Now he's saying I'm being dramatic, that I'm punishing him for helping people who don't have the support we do. He told me I'm being cold and that I'm setting a bad example for our daughter by shutting him out. He's also implied more than once that I'm trying to act like a victim when he was doing what any decent person would do. His mom called yesterday and said I should be ashamed for taking the baby away. I never said anything about keeping our son from him. I've told him he can come see the baby whenever he wants. I've been texting our daughter, keeping up with her, and I plan to be back home the moment I've recovered enough. I'm not trying to split our family. I just needed a break. A quiet space to breathe and actually rest. I'm exhausted, mentally and physically, but now I'm second-guessing myself. Was it wrong to go somewhere else to recover? Should I have just gone home and tried to work it out there? I don't want this to turn into some drawn-out fight or drama, especially not with a newborn in the picture. I don't even know if I'm thinking clearly at this point. Edit, our baby is a boy. Sorry, relevant comments. Commenter 1, you are not wrong. You went to your support system. So he could continue to be their support system. He just doesn't want to admit that it was his fault that he missed his own childbirth. What if something bad happened during labor? He put his friend's comfort over his wife's and child's health. Are you saying that he has not once gone to your sister's house to see you and the baby? All while continuing to go to his friends and he doesn't see the problem? Tell your MIL that he had the chance to come visit and take you home, but he is putting his friend comfort over his family. Your husband needs therapy. Or he needs to come out with the truth that he is in an open relationship with the other couple. Reply, he did come once to hold and play with the baby. He made our daughter stay in the car so she could meet the baby at our home. Commenter 2, get your daughter with you. Reply, I'm trying to get her over for at least this weekend, but he's fighting me hard. Commenter 3, aren't you worried that they keep taking advantage of your daughter? What if they are abusing her? Reply, yes, I've started worrying too with how she's been, but I thought it was just stress at first and I didn't want to just blindly accuse anyone, but now I'm not so sure. I feel sick thinking I might have missed something, and I'm trying to figure out a way to handle everything without it blowing up in my or my kids' faces. Commenter 4, OP, are you sure the baby the other couple has isn't secretly his? You've made your point several times of needing more support from him as his wife and you gave birth to his child. Flat out ask him if this was a situation he read online or the roles were reversed, and the husband of the other couple kept coming around like this, what would he think? Tell him he either steps up for his family and when you're able you guys get couples counseling or he can contribute child support instead. 100% NTA. Reply, I genuinely don't think so. The baby doesn't look like him and the timing's off. I'm more hurt that he's putting them first, not really thinking it's anything like that. Commenter 5, info, have you talked to the couple to see if he really is helping them? For a couple who is going through the same thing as you, teen new baby, wouldn't they want your husband home to spend this time as a family? Reply, the wife did call me a couple times in the beginning to thank me for doing things like making food for my husband to take over, and I gave them some of my daughter's old toys. Update. Hey again, just wanted to thank everyone who commented on the original post and gave honest feedback. I wasn't in the best headspace when I wrote it, but reading through the replies, even the harsh ones, helped more than I expected and I figured you were owed at least this small update. So 2-ish days after posting, I took my daughter out of school for a few days. I had my sister bring her to her house so we could be in the same space, and I could get a better read on how she was actually doing. I didn't want to come at her all at once, so I let her rest and decompress a bit. Gave her some room to just be a kid again. Sleep in, eat actual food, breathe. Then one afternoon we were doing dishes and just chatting, and I gently asked what it's really been like at the other couple's place. I told her I wasn't mad, just that I wanted to understand. She paused for a while, then told me the truth. She'd kind of been seeing their 17-year-old son. Not officially dating, but spending a lot of alone time together. She said she'd try to remind her dad it was getting late, but the boy would pull her aside and they'd end up hanging out longer. She didn't get into the details, but it was pretty clear what she meant by the way she kept blushing and looking away from me. Her being tired all the time suddenly made a lot more sense. I also asked, carefully, if anything felt off about her dad lately, like if he seemed out of it or off in some way or was acting strange during their visits. She said not really, but that she'd smelled weed once or twice, usually when they were finally about to leave and he was usually really sweaty at the end of it. She didn't seem too freaked out about it, but it made my stomach turn a bit. When my husband found out I'd taken her out of school and brought her to my sister's, he lost it. He accused me of trying to turn her against him and called it parental interference, like, okay. I told him I just wanted her to rest and have some space. He wasn't hearing it. A few hours later, his mom called me yelling, saying I was trying to steal the baby, isolate our daughter, ruin the family, etc. She left this long voicemail about how I needed to bring his children home where they belong. I haven't responded. I haven't told him what our daughter shared yet. I'm still trying to figure out how to bring it up and how to press him for more details about to why he himself gets up to during those visits other than what I figure out from what my daughter said. So yeah. That's where things stand, messy, exhausting. But a little clearer than before. Thanks again to everyone who took the time to comment and offer perspective. It helped more than you know. I'll update again if anything more happens. Edit. I'm sorry this is so jumbled, I wrote it after putting the baby finally to sleep. Top comments. Commenter 1. A 14-year-old has zero business dating a 17-year-old while her father gets high and who knows what else with his friends. It would take an act of God to get me to take that child back to her father. Commenter 2. Woof. This seems like you found a thread that is about to unravel the full, nasty truth. Commenter 3. Something still doesn't feel right here. 14-year-old dating a 17-year-old, who sounds like he's forcing your daughter to stay there longer. There is more to this story, please request temporary custody and get her away. Commenter 4. Get your daughter to an OBGYN and a pregnancy test. Who knows if they have been using protection, who knows who the 17-year-old has slept with before her. File for emergency custody ASAP now. Stories number 2. My 27M, fiance, 29F, was accused by her friend maid of honor, 29F, of stepping out on me. My fiance claims she's trying to sabotage our relationship. I'm lost and questioning everything. How do I move forward? My 27M relationship with my fiance, 29F, has kinda blown up. I never felt this unsure in our relationship. I'm in need of outside perspectives. For context, we're college sweethearts. For orientation I was touring campus, and she was my group's tour guide. That's how we met. She's my first love and best friend. Now we're in the height of wedding planning. About a couple of years ago, we had a rough patch with her shutting down and pushing me away. She wanted to take a break so she could find herself again. I don't believe in breaks. I wanted to work through it together, but her mind was made. So I agreed. We established boundaries for the break. We wouldn't see other people, and we were to have checkups about where we were emotionally. The goal was to reinforce our foundation. The break was only a month. We bounced back stronger, but it's still a sore spot. The break was the most distant we'd ever been, and the experience highlighted why I'm against it. Recently, my fiancé had a bad falling out with a mutual friend maid of honor, 29F, who I'll call Joss for clarity. Some nasty stuff was said, and Joss accused my fiancé of being a bridezilla and an even worse friend. I hoped the rift between them would mend because they were close for a long time. They were like sisters. But my fiancé kicked Joss out of the wedding and uninvited her. The damage seemed to be done for both. The other day, Joss reached out to me and said that my fiancé wasn't being completely truthful. She revealed not only did my fiancé see other guys during the break but also hooked up with someone on their annual girls' trip. She gave the guy's name, but I don't know who he is. On the trip, my fiancé's group linked up with another they clicked with. Joss said it was clear the guy had an eye for my fiancé, and eventually she and he began wandering off. My fiancé ignored Joss's attempts at talking her down. It was a lot to take in. My initial instinct was to shut Joss down. Up until this point, I trusted my fiancé fully, but I couldn't overlook how much Joss's account matched my doubts from back then. Like I said, we were the most distant during our break. It wasn't on my part. There were times she was AWOL on our checkups. During the girls' trip that fell on our break, she went radio silent in a way she wasn't on previous trips. There was truth to linking up with another group because my fiancé told me about it. She's still casually in touch with some of them. Right after the trip, she was gung-ho on calling the break off, how it was a mistake, and that she was in a better headspace. Joss claimed this was part of their falling out. She was pushing my fiancé to come clean with me before the wedding. She felt I deserved to know and wished she would have said something sooner. I didn't say much. I was too numb to really feel anything. I initially didn't confront my fiancé. I was trying to process, but she could tell something was wrong and kept asking. When I did confront her, she was a whirlwind of emotions. She mostly ranted about Joss, but I told her this was her chance to tell her own story. She asked if I'd hear her out. I promised I would. She confessed to seeing other guys during the break but claims nothing happened. She also denies ever hooking up with anyone on the trip. I asked her why Joss would tell the truth about her seeing other guys, which alone thoroughly broke our boundaries, but make up an elaborate lie about her cheating on the trip. She insists Joss is trying to sabotage our relationship. She said the other guys meant nothing and I'm the one she was in love with. It was like she wanted me to be grateful for choosing me. She promised to do anything to regain my trust. She said we're starting our lives together, and I shouldn't let Joss come between us. I wasn't very receptive to her. We fought, and I told her I needed to think. Ever since, she's been pouring on so much affection. She still swears she never hooked up with anyone on the girls' trip and that Joss is trying to sabotage. But I can't shake the possibility that Joss is telling the truth. All of this has blown up while we're in the middle of wedding planning. Invites already delivered, venue booked, catering being arranged, suits, dresses, everything. I feel so numb. I'm in love with my fiancé. She's my best friend. It feels wrong to doubt her, but I'm questioning everything. Even myself. What to believe anymore. I feel like an idiot. How do I move forward for myself and my relationship? TLDR, my fiancé's and my relationship has blown up after she had a bad falling out with her maid of honor who told me not only did my fiancé see other guys while we were on a break, but she also hooked up with someone on their girls' trip. My fiancé confessed to seeing other guys on the break but denies hooking up with anyone. She's accusing her friend of trying to sabotage our relationship. We fought, and I told her I needed space. Ever since, she's been pouring on so much affection. We're in the middle of wedding planning, and now this mess. I'm lost and questioning everything. What to believe anymore. How do I move forward for myself and my relationship? Comments. Commenter 1. We established boundaries for the break. We wouldn't see other people. That's all you need know. You established a boundary, she broke it. Whether she actually slept with someone or not, you need to decide if you can forgive that she's lied to you for years. Essentially, she withheld information in order to get back together with you and did not give you all the facts so that you could make an informed decision of whether or not that was something you wanted to do. Commenter 2. I'm afraid she'll eventually tell the truth that she did sleep with someone else, but it will be months after the wedding when your choices have a more serious impact. Commenter 3. I was prepared to call out the friend for being jealous, but after reading it all I think she's telling the truth. I think your fiancé is trickling out the truth to you. She's only telling you what she thinks you will forgive. She's lied and then realized she had to tell you a little bit. She's been lying since you got back together. Contact the other women that went on the trip and ask them as well. Check her phone for the messages between the group at that time. Get tested. Reply, I'm considering reaching out to the other women. How open they'll be about it. I get along with them but they're more of my fiance's friends and they've largely stayed out of the falling out. Commenter 4. Having been the Joss for friends myself. Meet up with Joss and have her get a friend your fiance on speaker, someone that knows. Hear it for yourself. She was going to keep the seeing other guys part secret forever. I think Joss is telling the truth and your fiance is full of shit. Update. Thank you to everyone who reached out. It helped give me, 27M, much needed perspective. I wanted to give an update. I wanted a fuller picture before making a decision on anything with my fiance, 29F. I knew her friends' bridesmaids would be a lost cause. I get along with them, but they're more of my fiance's friends, and their group runs deep. They weren't going to talk at the expense of my fiance. I asked Joss, 29F, for more info and for evidence to her claims about my fiancé hooking up with someone on their girls' trip. She said my fiancé avoided talking about that particular trip, especially over text. Most of their arguments were in person, but she showed me texts from shortly after the trip where my fiancé confirmed hooking up with the guy. She texted how it's in her rearview mirror and she doesn't need a lecture about the past. She's focusing on the future. I knew the possibility, and my fiancé already confessed to seeing other guys during our break, but seeing those texts made it real in a way it wasn't before. In the texts, she expressed regret, but it didn't make me feel better. I confronted my fiancé and I knew immediately by the look on her face. She came clean on everything. She thought Joss deleted the texts. Around the break, we were having serious talks about marriage. She started worrying she was missing out on stuff her single friends were engaging in. During the break, she sought validation from other guys and fooled around with that guy on the girls' trip. In her own words, she had a temporary high when he chased her but felt worse about herself post-hookup. She claims the break showed her what was important and that she wasn't missing out on anything. She was reassured we were right for each other. I hardly said anything to her. I mostly just listened. I was too numb for much else. She kept asking me to say something, but what was there for me to say? I felt her actions spoke enough for us both. She kept apologizing for stepping out. When I asked her why she wasn't upfront with me, she said she didn't want to lose me over her biggest mistake. Her position that Joss isn't being noble hasn't changed. I told her Joss's motive doesn't matter, the truth is the truth. She asked if I could find it in myself to move past this. She said she loves me and she's fully committed. I couldn't tell her what she wanted. I said it was best the wedding be put off and I needed space to sort my feelings. She was against postponing and proclaimed this didn't have to define us, and she's still the same woman I wanted to marry. She asked me not to give up on us. But the same way her mind was made about the break, my mind was made on postponing. It wasn't a choice, it wasn't so much a fight, more putting everything out there. She cried a lot. She rarely cries. It felt wrong to leave her crying. My first instinct was to comfort her, but I was too broken to fake it. I've been hurt before, but she hurt me in a way only she could. I know postponing the wedding is for the best. The reason why I didn't call it off entirely is because I'm way too much in my emotions right now. Hurt, anger, sadness, and somehow numbness. At all possible, I try to avoid making decisions lost in emotion. I need to clear my head. I was so sure of my course and our relationship. My fiancée was my partner in every sense. She was who I wanted to make a life with. Sometimes she'd act so superior about our relationship compared to those of her friends. I feel so stupid. She says she's still the same person I love. But the fact is she had a secret life I knew nothing about. I'm trying my best to understand that, but I'm at a complete loss. I'm not sure if I can move past this. All the guests have been informed of the postponement. Some questioned why, but I've been vague. I'm just too embarrassed. I feel bad for the guests too. Some with limited means already booked flights and hotels and took time off work for our wedding. That's how far we were in the homestretch. In some ways it doesn't feel like my life. We were just together, wedding planning and discussing the honeymoon. The honeymoon was a surprise destination for her, someplace she's always wanted to visit. Now we're here. Where to go or what the future holds. Thanks to everyone again for the support. It means a lot. Comments. Commenter 1. She's the same person in her eyes but not in yours, because you didn't know she was capable of treating you this way. Her stepping out when you were on a break is one thing. It may have been possible to overcome it. But her lying and gaslighting you is recent and is who she is. You cannot trust her to tell you the truth if she thinks a lie would serve her more. That's the kind of person she is, and has proven to be at least twice in this situation. Commenter 2. 100% this. Hooking up with a guy on a break, even when she promised not to, is one thing, but then continuing to lie about it as she plans a wedding with you and plans to lock you down for the rest of your life is F***ked up, end of story. Let her go bro. The success rate of the average marriage is pitiful as it is, and starting off with this much deception and drama and baggage is not likely to end well. Add to that, if you go through with this, whenever you look back on your actual wedding day, it will be a source of anger for you because you'll think about all your poor family and friends that had to reschedule and potentially pay for extra flights and hotels, and they will all eventually realize why the wedding had to be rescheduled, and you will look at your lying wife and picture her blowing some dude on vacation, EW. Commenter 3. No, she is no longer the same woman you wanted to marry a month ago. Since then you learned how easy it is for her to lie to you and how happily she can do that. She is no longer the same woman, she has a very dark side that you only see now. Say, those friends of hers from the girls' trip, are that the same friends she is still hanging out with today? And did they know about her only taking a break to hook up with guys? If yes, then she surrounded herself with friends who support her in making such decisions and support her in lying to you about what she does. Those friends are all enemies of your possible relationship, enabling such behavior of your fiancé. You did the right decision to not make a final decision while high on emotions. You know all that you need to know. Now take time to yourself, separate physically from your fiancé, and tell her not to contact you. You decide when you will talk again. For now you need time to yourself to calm your emotions down, to let go of the woman that you thought she was and to see her for who she actually is. Only when you see her for who she is, then make a decision about your future. Good thing is, this time it at least is an informed decision. Say, have you asked her if she at least got tested for STDs back then afterwards? Or had she not even cared about your health when she hooked up with a stranger? Reply, yeah, it's the same group of women. Same group from college. They were aware of what she was up to during the break. Commenter 4. Then, cut all of them off. You'll be better off. You are the company you keep. You don't need to drag down your morals and your values to stay with someone who surrounds themselves with lying cheaters who gaslight you and make shit up. It'll suck initially, but you'll be better off in the long run. I'm so sorry you have to go through this. You can and will find better. But for now, take time for yourself. You have a lot of hurt to work through and move past. Your future starts now. Stories number 3. I, 28F, found a woman's sock in my house after being away for a week and my boyfriend, 30M, lied to me about it. I was away for a week for work. He was off work nearly this entire time as he works 1 week on, 1 week off. When I came home, my boyfriend had cleaned the house up quite extensively. Obviously not a crime in itself, but it was surprising and a little out of character. I usually have to do most of the cleaning, so it was unexpected. He'd even picked up some of my laundry that I'd left in the washroom and living room and put it in the basket. I was surprised, but I didn't think much of it. He started night shifts the day after I returned and I was working days, so I came home from work after he'd left. I figured I'd spend some time cleaning the house too as he'd done. There's a shop vac that had been sitting just outside of our bedroom door for a few weeks that I finally moved to the closet. When I moved it, I found a sock just behind it. A small ankle sock, obviously women's, in a brand that I've never seen before. I had a bad feeling by this point, but I put the sock on a table by my bedside and continued cleaning, intending to ask him about it when he returned from work early in the morning. When I asked him whose sock it was, he said he didn't know. He then said he found it on the stairs and thought it was mine, so he put it there. But I put the sock there. I doubt he'd even seen it around the house, or else it wouldn't have been behind the shop vac. And if he had seen it and thought it was mine, wouldn't he have put it in the basket with my other clothes that he'd put away? I told him that I put the sock there and asked him why he lied about putting it there. He said he didn't have anybody over and he didn't know whose sock it is. I left and got ready for work and he went to sleep. Any advice on how to address this? Top comment. Commenter 1. He lied about how the sock got there, first off. And when you confronted him about why he lied, he deflected with an entirely different answer you didn't even ask about. I didn't have anyone over. But you didn't ask if he did. You asked why he lied. It doesn't really matter who the sock belongs to now, what matters is it's not yours, and he lied to you several times about it. Do you want to stay with someone who would lie about anything? Update. I don't know if I'm allowed to update in less than 48 hours as per community rules. But he woke up. I'm sitting here in my office area, doing some work but also periodically crying and reading the comments here. He came into the room and tried cuddling me from behind my chair. I was obviously stiff and he asked me why I was mad at him. I said that I didn't know why he wasn't honest with me earlier about the sock. He said he didn't lie to me. I said I put the sock there on the table so he couldn't have. He said that he'd meant he'd found the sock while cleaning and he'd tossed it aside, landing forgotten behind the shop vac. He then got super mad, saying that I'm always accusing him of cheating. Swearing around and saying that he's not coming on our trip to my parents' house during the summer and that he's staying at the house all summer and that a friend of mine who was supposed to rent the house for work during the summer can't stay there then because he'll be here. I asked him why he was getting so mad and said that I'd been upset and I just needed an explanation and reassurance from him. He continued to lose it. Stormed towards the door and threw his cup full of coffee down the stairs. Grabbed an old baseball bat that we keep by the stairs and started hitting the step outside the door yelling that he's not fucking cheating. Threw his lunch that he'd packed for work all over the steps and peeled off in his truck. Update 2. We broke up as a lot of the comments have said too, it wasn't really about the sock anymore. Maybe I won't ever know what happened while I was away, but the violence in his response was frightening and I don't want to be with someone that makes me feel unsafe in my home. It wasn't the first time I've seen him that angry, but it's the first time that he's done something so physical and I don't want to be involved if it continues to escalate. He's been taking some of his stuff while I've been out of the house, and one of our dogs which has been probably the most upsetting out of all of this, and I've been changing the lock code after each time. I have some friends that live nearby that I've explained the situation to and they've assured me I can contact them if I ever end up in an unsafe situation. Thank you to everyone that has offered advice, shared their own experiences, or expressed concern for my safety in the comments. There will be a lot of changes in my life upcoming due to this but I know it's for the best. Stories number 4. Aita for not cooking fancier meals. I'm the only one who cooks in our house. It's just 4 of us, my husband, me and my daughter and little brother. My husband is 27 and I'm 25. My husband barely knows how to make eggs, even though I've tried to talk to him constantly about learning how to cook. My daughter and brother are still in elementary school so they only help me cook. The responsibility falls on me and it's honestly exhausting. So, I just set up a system in my head. It's easy, for breakfast it's just something with eggs or cereal. Lunch is some sort of sandwich, burger, or leftovers. Dinner is the meal I usually plan but I have like 10 dishes I repeat. Sometimes I'll go off, especially Sunday, but generally I stay because it's easier for me mentally. Well, one day I made just pasta Alfredo with chicken and as we were eating, my husband mentions that it would be nice if I made fancier dishes. I asked him what he meant and he explained he wants me to change things up, add some more meat dishes and variety. Next time, we went out shopping and I was putting ingredients I don't usually buy into the cart. As the ingredients started piling up, my husband was getting all puffy and upset. We got to the meat aisle and I started picking out beef and that's when my husband lost it and started taking things out of the cart. Saying that we can't afford my fancy living. I blinked at him and tried to explain that he was the one who asked for variety and different dishes, so I'm buying different ingredients. He rolled his eyes and told me that I'm being dramatic. I just let him do his thing, taking out most of the ingredients out. The next week, I made the same dishes because that's all I had ingredients for. A week passed and my husband was all pouting that I made fried rice again and that he's sick of chicken. When I pointed out that he took out all the beef out of our cart, he blew up on me again and said I'm being an asshole because he doesn't know how to cook. Stories number 5. Aita for not taking my father's minor children into consideration when I sued him for the inheritance he stole from me. My mom died when I, 22F, was 10 and in her will she left me an inheritance of more than 100k. My dad was left in charge of it but after he remarried, him and his wife wanted to start a business together and they used the money mom left me to open it. Dad and I argued about it at the time but I was 15 and he kept insisting it was good for the whole family and how it was better used to help everyone than being thrown away on random shit when I turned 18. Our relationship was over before I moved out of his house at 18. I had made his and his wife's life miserable for stealing from me and once I was out of there I looked into how I could get that money back. I pressed charges against him for stealing from me and I sued him for the money. I had the support of my entire extended family on my maternal side and some on my paternal side. But I was told by others on the paternal side to consider my dad's other kids and the devastation that kind of financial upheaval could bring. I ignored those comments. I knew waiting would prevent me from ever getting the money and I honestly did not care about his family's financial security after being stolen from. It was a long-ass process and I needed to return to court a few times because he was just like I can't pay, I don't have the money anymore. In the end they were forced to give up the business and it was sold to pay me the money back and he had to pay additional out of his paycheck which made him empty their savings so his wages weren't garnished anymore. By the time I got it back I was 100% done and past the point where we could ever reconcile. He made me fight so hard for what was legally mine and he stole money mom left to support his new family. My relationship with some of dad's side is not so strong anymore and they think it was wrong that I focused only on what he did and not on the effects for the kids. I mostly don't talk to those family members now but they ask me how I feel zero guilt for it when the kids are innocent and are still my siblings technically. That they would have thought I'd want better for them, I don't feel bad. I never have. But AITA for not taking the kids into consideration. Is that something I should have done? I feel like that's just really unfair to me and locks me into never being paid back. I don't think I owe those kids that. Stories number 6. I did a bump of coke and then spent 4 hours on the phone with my slightly estranged sister. I am 33, gave a guy a ride home and he offered me a bump. I haven't done coke in almost 10 years, so I figured why not. After getting home I had this crazy urge to talk to someone. So, I called my adopted sister, F28, that I haven't talked to in almost 3 years. I called her BC. I knew she would answer. Then we had a very profound conversation where she explained why she understood why we don't talk. There was some serious family drama that kinda split the family years ago and she told me she understood why I isolated myself from the family. She was so happy that for the first time we could talk about all the shitty things that happened to our family years ago. Some of the things she said about the weird family dynamic that was going on then really hit home. Me and my other sister, biological, were adopted by a couple that had adopted other children, including the sister I called. At the time me, M12, and my bio sister, F10, were apparently really mean and cold to our other siblings. We were the oldest kids in the family. I felt bad for years about how I treated my younger adopted sister, but on the rare occasions where we meet at a family gatherings I've never brought it up or apologized. With a bit of drug courage I finally opened up and explained why we were like that to her. Everything I said to her was true and from the heart. I just kind of feel like shit that it took drugs for me to finally tell her this. It does feel genuine, even though it really was. She asked if I had been drinking and if that's why I called. I told her that I only had a few beers. Edit, neither me or my biological sister ever did anything inappropriate to our younger siblings, just so we are clear. Edit 2, thank you everyone for you kind comments. Life is weird sometimes. I'm just glad I could reconnect with my sister and also talk about a traumatic event from my childhood that I had never spoken about before. Stories number 7. Bet you're sorry now. Many years ago, after decades of saving, my husband and I were doing well enough to finally build our dream home. After we moved in, we still had to have our yard leveled and sodded and arranged it early the next spring. That night, I was out watering the backyard sod when I saw my neighbor's wife, Chris, using a measuring tape between our homes. I asked her if everything was okay and she said that we had sodded a section of their yard. I told her we had followed the sticks that the builder had left. She said the builders must have screwed up and rudely insisted that we had stolen part of their yard. Not wanting to have an ongoing beef with her and her husband, Keith, we agreed to have our property resurveyed. When we did, we got one hell of a surprise. The actual property line wasn't halfway between our two houses as we believed, it was about 1.5 feet away from the side of their house. They owned a construction company and had built their house too close to the property line. This was an insane mistake for a professional. Still wanting to be good neighbors, we offered to split the cost and labor of a good neighbor fence using one of the 4 accepted fence styles allowed. My husband kept asking Keith when he wanted to start, but he always had one excuse after another. Then Keith rudely told Dan to stop bothering him. Dan was furious. He bought all the materials and built the fence himself. He had been planning to put the fence halfway between our houses, but our neighbor was so rude that Dan built the fence just inside our property line, making the neighbor's house look terrible. The neighbor's husband came over pissed as hell, but Dan reminded him that he and his wife wanted a new property survey and he had put off the fence for months. Our fence was magnificent, because Dan was a carpenter and I'm a great painter. The neighbor's husband built a fence next to ours, but it was ugly, badly built and not one of the approved designs. He was forced to tear it down later. Stories number 8. I had a baby as a result of an affair and now his wife is reaching out to me. I 26F had an affair with a married man 42M a few years prior. She learned he was married a month after they got together. It was when she looked him up on social media and saw his photos of his kids and nothing of his wife. OOP got pregnant about a year into the relationship with him. She thought she was in love with him. OOP told him she was pregnant, and he told her that she could not keep the baby, which was expected for her to hear from him. He didn't want any more kids and he was trying to pretend to be happily married with his wife to the world. OOP agreed to do what he wanted but backed out and hid from him. She said she won't contact him or go after child support if he would leave OOP alone. His plan didn't go the way he wanted. The child is now 2 years old. OOP did not name the father or requested for child support. The ex-wife has reached out and asked to talk with OOP. The couple divorced 6 months ago. The ex-wife wants her children to know their sibling. OOP has not responded back to the ex-wife yet. Update 1. 3 weeks later from the last update. I moved back to where her family is 12 hours away from her son's father and his family. The ex-wife has reached out to OOP to see if her children could get to know OOP's child. OOP finally made a decision to respond back to the ex-wife, who told her how she found out about the affair by seeing communications between her ex-husband and OOP. The ex-wife told OOP that she wasn't the only one who had an affair with him. There was another woman that the ex-wife knew about before he met OOP. When the ex-wife found out about OOP's child, it was the final straw for her and the divorce happened. The ex-wife's children knew about OOP and her son. The children are very angry at their father for the affair. OOP informed the ex-wife that her son is still little, so they are not ready for the children to meet each other yet. OOP was informed of the ex-husband's accident, he's recovering, but not allowed to resume his normal activities yet. It shook him up and he had been expressing his regrets about not being there for his son with OOP. Update 2. I received a handwritten letter from her son's father. He has expressed on how he wants to get to know and be a father to their son. The father said he wants to provide financially and visit the child as well on a basis since he lives states away. He wanted to get a paternity test done to confirm the child is his. I refused because she already knew he is her son's father. I has decided at this point to have communications through lawyers. With a court order for paternity in place, I has to present her son and is prepared to take the next steps as needed. Update 3. In the last update, I explained about the court order paternity. It took around 5 weeks to find out what OOP already knew all along, but things were being stalled for the next steps to take place in the court process. OOP did not respond to the letter she received from her son's father. All communications were through lawyers. Out of the blue, he shows up at OOP's home one weekend. He did not want to wait another 6 weeks for the next step from the court. It was making OOP uncomfortable, and he just wanted to talk to OOP about their son. He wanted to know why OOP can't talk with him about how he would like to get involved with their son's life. OOP is struggling with having trust in him, but knows she will have to make a decision on the court agreement, especially the visitation and possible custody. OOP wants her son to have a father, but still having a hard time with the fact that she can't keep him away from their son. Update 4. My son is now 3 years old, who was conceived with an affair she had with the married man. From the last update, the court process has taken place regarding visitation and possible custody of the child after the ex was proved to be the father. OOP and the ex recently had a meditation session and he has met the child twice. Supervised visitations with OOP present between the father and son. Because the father lives states away, he is required to come to OOP's state to have his visitations with the child. After a year, there will be another meditation session to determine the further steps with the goals for both sides regarding the child visiting his father's home and state. Child support has been decided and OOP will be receiving them for their son. He wrote OOP a large check which she was hesitant to accept. The meetings between the father and son went pretty much as OOP thought they would because the son hasn't gotten used to see his father on a regular basis. OOP is trying to get used to a new normal and reality that the ex is in their son's life now. Update 5. I shares another update since the last one. She regrets putting herself in a position on having an affair with a married man. OOP has a lawyer where she makes appropriate decisions for her son. She knew she cannot stop her ex from having access to their son. OOP and the ex are supposed to use a parenting app in order to make the best decisions for their son. He has reached OOP outside of the app and wanted her and their son to visit him in his state. OOP doesn't want to because they needed to focus on their son, not her. The ex has tried to make personal conversations with OOP, but she has shut them down and redirect him back to their parenting app. And that check. OOP sent it back because she did not want to accept it. She knew he had a plan to butter her up for something that she is not having trusts about. OOP doesn't want to fall for him all over again. Update 6. It has been 2 months since the last update. I shared that her son's father sending her messages about the child and everything else. Despite the parenting app, he didn't want to stick to the plan. He would send text messages to OOP outside the app to see how she was doing. OOP knew he was up to something and not falling for this. He sent packages for their son as in the way to prove OOP he is trying to be thoughtful and be a father. OOP has the biggest challenge she has been dealing with, finding balance. She is trying to acknowledge the good things her son's father has done for her and the child. OOP wants to protect her son from getting hurt if the father decides he no longer wants to visit. Per the lawyer, she is following their advice to document everything as needed. The father thinks it's unfair that OOP isn't letting him spend more time with the child during the holidays because she won't go to his state. He once again tries to bribe OOP with money again because he wanted to help her in some ways, but OOP isn't comfortable with that idea, especially when he wants to change the child's last name from OOP's to his. End of year update plus everything is okay. I'm just posting a quick update because several people have reached out and expressed concern for me and my safety. I'm fine. My son is fine. I appreciate that people were concerned. There just hasn't been much change or reason to post an update since my last one, until very recently. We continue to follow the same visitation schedule with my son's father traveling here to visit. He hasn't missed a visit, pays child support as ordered, and other than his pushiness things are going okay. My son is a lot more comfortable with him now and doesn't hide behind me or stay silent the entire time, but I think it's hard for him to grasp the concept of this guy being his dad. He's just a nice guy who plays with him and brings him toys a few times a month. Last weekend was one of his visitation weekends and he bought tickets for a Polar Express train ride. I had planned to do that when my son was maybe 4 or 5. I think 3 is a little young, but of course he'd already bought the tickets. The 3 of us went. I don't really feel threatened by him, but I also don't feel comfortable letting him take my son somewhere alone yet. I didn't have the best attitude going into it. I felt like I was kind of going against my will. We stayed in a nice hotel that was decked out for Christmas and part of a Polar Express package. I was worried he'd expect us all to share a room, but he got us separate rooms. The train ride was fun and my son enjoyed it. I don't know that he cared about Santa, but he liked the cocoa, the jingle bell, and the pancake breakfast the next morning. He got cranky towards the end of the train ride, but overall it was okay and I got a ton of really great pictures I'll treasure forever. Everything was going fine. It was a totally tolerable experience being there with my son's father. I wasn't focused on him. I was sort of able to ignore his presence to a degree. Then after we got back from the train ride he said he loved me and he'd give anything to be sleeping in the same bed as me that night. I told him I didn't want to talk about that it'd ruin the entire weekend, and that we wouldn't be sleeping in the same bed. He said he doesn't understand why I'm so resistant to him. I guess he thinks I can just easily forget the way he treated me and our son when I told him I wasn't going to get an abortion. I told him I can't get over what he said and did to me and he said, I didn't mean it, that was years ago. I refused to talk about it anymore, but I couldn't resist asking him why he's doing all of this. I still don't understand why he decided to re-enter our lives. I do buy that he suddenly had a totally non-selfish change of heart after he was in his accident. He said he just wants to be there for his son and I should be happy for our son to have a father. He also said he can give him so much and I selfishly want to prevent that because of my pride. He thinks the reason I won't be with him again is because I'm stubborn and insist on resisting everything he could do to make my life better and happier. So, the whole thing just ended in a sour note. We won't see him again until January. He has really tried to talk to me since then. He has short, scheduled video calls with my son and he usually tries to get me to talk to him, but he basically ignored me. I may just have my dad take my son for the next few visits. I know my dad won't want to spend any time with my ex and my ex definitely won't want to spend time with my dad, but I think it'd probably be for the best and would send a clear message. New updates. This is the first time I've dated anyone since my relationship with my son's father. I intentionally haven't dated. Not because I'm still in love with him, but because it didn't feel like a responsible thing to do. After the mess that was that relationship and the bad decisions I made, I decided that I needed to dedicate myself to being a good mother to my son. I needed to figure out how to stand on my own 2 feet and support my son, and that left no room for dating. I also felt like I had to prove to those who knew the true story of my son's conception, not many people, that I could be a good, caring, responsible mom. I felt like I had to prove something and dating other men or jumping into a new relationship just wouldn't look good. In reality, I ended being too busy and too tired to date, even if I'd wanted to. Plus, it was hard for me to picture introducing any man to my child. I knew from the start that I would never parade different men in and out of his life. I was scared to take the chance on anyone and have me and my son get hurt. I dreamed of finding somebody who could be a dad to my son one day, but at the same time it was hard to imagine ever finding a man I liked enough to let into our lives. I actually went out with this guy for the first time about a year ago. We went on 2 dates. Never slept together. I was being cautious. Then all of this stuff started to happen with my son's father and I got spooked, I guess. I felt overwhelmed with all of that and not in a good place to start a new relationship. I wasn't going to really be fully present in a new relationship with this other drama happening in my life. We kept in touch and just sort of stayed friends. It's not like we hung out together, but we'd check in with each other a few times a month. Then a few months ago he basically told me he knows I'm dealing with all this other stuff but I shouldn't let it get in the way of me living my life. We went out on a few casual dates and I still felt attracted to him. He's so much different from my son's father. For starters, he's age appropriate for me. But his personality is so different. He's genuine, not walking around constantly in BS salesman act mode. He's not a narcissistic control freak. He doesn't rush me when I'm talking and turn every conversation around to be about himself. He's confident but not a braggart. He's super fun to be around and I feel so much more relaxed around him than I ever have or do around my son's father. I don't want to drag him into everything that I'm dealing with, but he knows enough about what's happening. I was honest with him about that relationship, that I knowingly slept with and carried on a relationship with a married man. I've been really worried that when any man I was interested in found out that I was involved in an affair and about how my son came about, he'd think I was trash and not want anything to do with me. He said he thinks people can make mistakes that don't have to define them and he's more interested in current me, not whoever I was back then when I made that decision. He doesn't think the version of me he knows would make the same decision. He told me he thinks I'm a good person and I'm a good mom and that actually attracted him to me more, not in a weird way though. He says seeing how much I love my son and the way I talk about him and stuff is endearing and it was my sweetness that he liked, but he's never dated anyone with kids before. He has nieces and nephews. He feels fine about kids but dating somebody with a kid is new for him. He won't be meeting my son for quite a while, if we make it that long. He's totally fine with that and he understands that my schedule as far as any time we spend together has to be worked around my son and that my son comes first. The weird thing is that my ex found out I was dating. He's either spying on me directly or he's having somebody do it for him. He said something like, "So you've got a new man now," at the last visitation. And, "Don't look so surprised, your son told me." First off, my son doesn't even know that my boyfriend exists. I haven't mentioned him to my son and they've never met. Plus, my son has no concept of what dating is or even boyfriend-girlfriend. I don't post on social media anymore. So how else would he know? I think he has somebody checking on me or he might just be following me when he comes here for his visitation. January's visitation was the last supervised visitation. Starting this month, this weekend, he has unsupervised visitation. It's only for a few hours on Saturday and again on Sunday. No overnights. Overnights are supposed to start in 6 months. I'm sure he'll start asking for them sooner though. I was a wreck. I didn't think he'd hurt our son. I kind of worried he'd run back to his home state with him, but I don't think he's dumb enough to do that on his first unsupervised visit. I mainly just worried that my son would be scared and think I left him. I talked to him, explained he'd be spending a few hours with his dad and then I'd be back to get him. His dad even told me I could call at any time. I made it through without calling, but it nearly killed me not to call. All I could think about was my son sobbing and thinking I'd abandoned him. When I got there to pick him up, he seemed fine, happy, he'd eaten lunch, told me all about what he and his dad did, fell asleep almost as soon as we got home because he didn't have a nap. I'm happy he didn't freak out but this is so hard for me. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, "Oh that would have been so hard, but I'm so glad your little boy didn't suffer." As for your ex, that's scary that he knows so much about your dating life, hopefully someone maybe saw you out and reported back, a coincidence rather than stalking. You're such a great mother, I'm so hoping things work out well for you both. Reply, as far as I'm aware, he doesn't have any friends or acquaintances here. He lives in Albert State, so the chances of somebody he knows just happening to see me out somewhere are slim. But thank you for the compliment. Commenter 2, if he gave your son gifts, like a stuffed animal, perhaps he put in some sort of recording device camera. Commenter 3, if it's possible and if you have the money, I'd definitely hire a private investigator to look into your ex. Maybe find out if he has any ulterior motives and definitely find out if he's watching you somehow. You may also have them follow the unsupervised visits to make sure everything's copacetic. On the other hand, don't let him intimidate you. You have absolute control and power over your life. You've done a really good job so far making sure your son is safe and healthy. I understand the lack of supervision is worrisome and terrifying. Definitely make sure you keep yourself a safety net for you and your son as time progresses. As you know, this is the grooming period. Commenter 4, make sure you keep your lawyer informed of everything he has said the Christmas trip and that he apparently has someone following you. Let your lawyer handle it. You are doing a great job. Your son is lucky to have you. I gave in to my ex and I'm so happy. I gave in to my ex this weekend. Well, I started to give in to earlier than that, but physically it happened this weekend. I was dating this really great guy. I posted about him previously. I liked him a lot but our relationship was pretty casual. He hadn't met my son yet for me, it was just nice having a grown-up to occasionally go out and do stuff with. It was also sort of nice having those feeling about a guy again, just the excitement and all of those good new relationship feelings. He got a job about 2 hours away from where we live. His degree and training are pretty specific. You can't just go anywhere and get a job in this field. Many of these jobs are on college campuses. He's been working in this field, but in an assistant role here at a college in our city. A higher level position opened up at a university about 2 hours away. He didn't think he'd actually get it. He's still pretty new to the field and there are many people with considerably more experience than him. But he got offered the job. He has a great personality and I feel like he probably won them over in his multiple interviews. We decided to not commit, i.e. any sort of romantic relationship. We're not interested in dating somebody we live hours apart from. My life and schedule doesn't really lend itself to me dating somebody who lives 2 hours away. My time is already limited. I know 2 hours isn't far, but you know he's going to be in a bigger city, a new exciting place. He'll have so many opportunities to meet people. I was sad about it, still am a little, but it's not like I was heartbroken, our relationship wasn't that deep. So in the meantime, my son's visitations with his dad have been going well. He has unsupervised visitation now. He travels here and stays overnight in a rental on these weekends. My son doesn't stay overnight with him, he spends all day Saturday and half the day Sunday with his dad. He calls him daddy now. He's comfortable with him. Soon, we have to go back to mediation. It's what we agreed upon with our initial agreement. The next steps will probably be overnight visits here in my city. There's really no reason for me to argue against it since my son is adapting well to the progressive visitations we've been doing. I've been talking to him outside of the parenting app. Before, he was contacting me outside of it but we weren't having conversations. I was doing my best to shut him down. Now I'm actually talking to him. After he told me that he found out about this guy I was seeing, he backed off for a while. He wasn't really reaching out outside the app, he was actually doing what he was supposed to be doing. On his last visit, it was my birthday weekend. He told me he could keep our son overnight if I was going out with this guy to celebrate my birthday. He said he wasn't trying to pressure me to allow an overnight and he totally understood if I wanted to stick to no overnights yet, but wanted me to know he could do it if I wanted to go on the night of my birthday. It seemed so genuine and I didn't feel pressured by him to say yes, and he has a way of pressuring you to say yes if he really wants you to. I told him no, we broke up and I wasn't planning to stay out late on my birthday. I wanted to see my son on my birthday. He was fine with it. My birthday came and I received a big flower arrangement and a card from him. He's been sending flowers every week since then. He got my card detailed for me as a gift. My son had decided to paint stripes down the sides of it with a rock last fall. He asked if he could just have 5 minutes on the phone with me and if I told him not to ever mention it again, he would respect that. He told me he was sorry for everything he's done, involving me in his cheating and his wife, threatening me about the pregnancy, not being involved with our son. He said he's committed to being a father to our son and he wouldn't still be paying for plane flights out here twice a month if he was doing it for ulterior motives. He's changed his will to include our son and ensure he's provided for. He's making a bedroom for him in his house right now for the day I say our son can finally visit there. He confessed that he'd be lying if he said he didn't want to be with me, that he wasn't still attracted to me and in a totally different way now that we have a child together. He wants me to give him a chance to prove he really cares about me and had changed and I don't have to promise anything right now, but what if things work out and we can be together as a family, not having to split our time with our son? I didn't want to resist it any longer. I don't know if it was because I'm still so scared of the day where I'll have to send my son off to go stay states away at his dad's house or what. Nobody else gives me the same feelings he does. I'm still so attracted to him and I've never felt so good with a man before or after him. I feel like I'm resisting it because I'm supposed to, but I don't want to anymore. There's nothing wrong about us being together now. I slept with him on Saturday night. I hadn't really planned to, but I wanted to and fully consented to it. It happened with me on a washing machine in an Airbnb, so nothing romantic in the least bit, but I can't describe how good it made me feel physically, emotionally. I don't really know where this is going to go from here. I'm going to be careful. I'm going to try to be smart. I'm going to keep my son as the priority. We're going to stick to the custody plan, this doesn't change any of that. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, I bet soon enough he convinces you to move to where he lives, with no job and no one to rely on but him. Did you forget he's likely got someone watching you? How do you think this will go down with his ex and other kids, his extended family? You need to be doing what's best for your son. Do you think this is really best? Look at what he did to the woman he was with for how long? And his other children? Once he has you locked down and unable to leave, do you really think you'll be different? Reply, what would prevent me from getting a job there again? Granted, the rent aren't many year-round full-time jobs that pay much of anything there. I don't think it matter how his ex-wife feels now, since she's his ex-wife. His kids, well, I doubt they'll be happy, but they have lives of their own now. Only one of them still lives at home and he won't for much longer. Commenter 2, I thought you might be able to reconnect. My only worry has always been if you move back with him you will not be able to leave his state if you break up. Please make him sign a legal document that you will be allowed to move from his state with the child. Before you ever move back there. That you need proof him to sign the document drawn up by your attorney and that this reconnection and getting you to move back to his state isn't to change manipulate legal situs. Good luck. Reply, I told him I'm not moving back there. His whole life is there. He's established there, so I can't see him moving away. So, I don't know how that would work long term. I just don't want to be far away from my family now that I have my son. He told me I should just enjoy right now and not worry about stuff that could be years down the line. Commenter 3, I'm sure he was. It's hard not being the focus when your wife has to work and raise kids. It's really hard to deal with not always being top priority as an adult man. I'm sure it was so difficult he had to lie to you. I'm sure his kids would agree, and that's why they don't talk to him. Girl, he lied to you for how long? How can you believe a word he says? Reply, his wife wasn't left alone to take care of the kids. He was the one at all of their activities, she was rarely ever there, and that comes from the mouths of other people, not just him. Who said his kids don't talk to him? He talks to all of his teenage children. He literally just took his older son on a trip over spring break, just the two of them. OOP explains how her son's father knew about her dating a guy and how the relationship ended. Reply, I don't know how he would have known that the other relationship ended unless he had hacked into my phone or had listening devices in my house. He's never even been inside my home. My son wants him to come over. He wants to show his dad his room and all his stuff. I've still said no. Up to now I've still refused. OOP's thoughts on getting back with her son's father and having a relationship. Reply, well, we're not even officially in a relationship yet. I haven't committed to anything. I'm nowhere near ready to do that. I do know I'll give up some control of my life if I'm actually with him. I can't even imagine moving to where he lives. I obviously lived there before, but that was under totally different circumstances and before I had a child. I don't want to live far away from my family now. Then again, I can't imagine sending my son off to go live with him there for stretches at a time. I can't stand the idea of being apart from my son for so long and having him so far away. It's not something that's going to happen right now, but it will eventually. I feel like as much as I've tried to hold my ground and keep control of the situation, I've already lost control of me and my son's lives once he came back into the picture. Update, I gave in to my ex, but I've decided that's where it ends. I posted about how I slept with the father of my son. I was definitely got raked over the coals after my last post and didn't expect the comments to be quite that bad. It's what I was even looking for when I made my last update. Maybe I was hoping people would tell me how stupid I was being, but I think I already knew it was stupid and was hoping I'd receive more encouragement so I could rationalize what I was doing. I let myself feel close to him again. It felt safe, in a way. Familiar. Even though nothing about our history has been safe or easy, lately, he's been trying hard to show up. For our son. For me. He's been flying in twice a month, doing everything he's supposed to. He's been saying all the right things, trying to prove he's changed. And for a little while, I let myself believe it. I wondered if maybe we could build something new from the mess we initially created, but after really sitting with everything, I made a decision. And I told him clearly that we're not getting back together. I told him that when he's here to see our son, not me. That I'm not going to try and maintain a long-distance relationship. That I won't move away from my family and support system ever again. That whatever chemistry or feelings still exist between us aren't enough anymore. He didn't argue. He just nodded and said, okay. That was it. No follow-up. No flowers this week. No dramatic text message. Thankfully no showing up at my house. Just silence. And honestly, that silence has been harder to sit with than I expected. Not because I regret the decision, but because part of me wanted proof that what we had meant something to him, too. That it wasn't just about chasing redemption or easing guilt or having control. Now, he's told me he wants to bring his older son to meet our son on his next visit. I guess he's trying to build some kind of bridge between their worlds. But part of me worries this might be his way of trying to shut me out now. I'm starting to worry about how he might get back at me. His silence is just very uncharacteristic. Still, I stand by what I said. He is our son's father. That's his role. And I hope he continues to show up in that capacity. But for me? I'm done waiting to see if he becomes the man I needed back then. I'm not going to let a few good weeks erase years of damage. I'm not going to romanticize being someone's second, or third, fourth, fifth, chance at figuring out how to love properly. Top comment. Commenter, the silent treatment is the warm-up act to what he's planning and it will be hateful and cruel. The only way he has to punish you now is via your son. Keep your house CPS level clean. Do not allow him or anyone else even a moment of access to your unlocked car or home, to prevent drug planting. If you use a diaper bag, search it thoroughly before taking it back from him. If he was ever inside your new home or car, search them now for planted items. Go so far as to look in air vents. Print out all texts from him and put them somewhere safe, and keep another copy on the cloud. Most of all, save every penny you can for the upcoming legal battle. He will do what it takes to make you move to his city, and that starts with him getting custody. To do that, he'll have to make you look horrible in court. Stories number 9. Aita for showing my skeleton in the closet. Edit. Sorry I'm a bit high RN, so BF is helping me edit and I'm new to Reddit and didn't put ages and the like. I am F32, he is M38, SIL is F56, and StepMIL is F69. How do I put this? My SIL thinks I am obnoxious. She is my BF's eldest sibling and very protective of her baby, and also very religious, so her baby dating pantsuit wearing, neon-colored hair having, bisexual atheist feminist with 2 moms was a lot for her to take in. Over the 3 years my BF and I have been together, she has only been more vocal about it. It did first start with small snarky comments, but now it's full in-your-face criticism. It got worse when he moved in with me as we aren't married. Well, one of her longest running jabs is that I look scary but am just mild and boring whilst I try to cosplay as edgy. Fair play to her for sewing in cosplay. Gold star. She's evolving, unless I have any skeletons in my closet. I am a happy person and have little issues with laughing at myself, so I always just laugh it off when she says she will find my skeletons in my closet. It was my birthday recently, so we have everyone over, and when my BF went out for decorations he returned with a plastic skeleton and held it up with that "We're so immature but you're in, right?" look on his face and said, "You thinking what I'm thinking?" And fuck me, I was. This cheeky asshole was giving me an offer I couldn't refuse, and I laughed and said, "You son of Sith, I'm a fan in," so we set the trap. Well, surely enough, SIL was busy telling anyone who would listen that we're unmarried, sleeping in the same bed, I smoke weed, she could smell it, the usual, and I ignored her, and then she went on about me cosplaying as edgy and not being an authentic person, and someday she will find my skeletons in my closet. My BF started to laugh and I said, "Oh, you didn't notice?" and walked her to our coat closet near the front door and opened it. There was Skeletor the skeleton propped up against the corner. We had a good laugh and my BL said, "Fucking hell, you finally found it," and when I turned to her, it went from a good-natured laugh to a nightmare. She was red in the face, silent, and crying. She slapped me and left without a word. I was stunned by the slap and not even prepared to deal with StepMIL, who asked me if I was happy mocking the woman who raised my BF and that I'm such a disrespectful ass, but this was a new low. She and a few others started telling me how shitty I was for embarrassing SIL and mocking her in front of everyone. The party naturally died from the party foul wounds and was DOA, so most everyone left within THR hour. BF has been trying to cheer me up and took me to see Deadpool and got me takeaway so we can binge watch our show and veg out, but Sale texted me a paragraph about how she's tried with me but I am determined to be a morally corrupt violation of her family and she is devastated that I hate her enough to make a mockery of her. I replied back an apology that I hurt her, and I genuinely thought it was just a laugh we could share, and offered to take her to lunch to talk it out. She said she was disinterested in dealing with me further, and when my BF wised up and leaves me, she will celebrate. There are texts from others and group chats where I am being torn apart as vicious and malicious and my mind is boggled. I know there are 100% times that when a person says it's just a joke that they are astronomically the so Ada. Comments. Commenter 1. Your SIL did help raise your BF, but he's not her baby, he's a grown adult living his own life. Your BF needs to talk to his family about this, admit it was a mutual idea to put the skeleton in the closet, and let his sister know that slapping you was completely inappropriate. He also needs to step up and shut down SIL's constant snarky comments and criticism of you, and to shut down the rest of the family tearing you apart to defend SIL. This was clearly a FAFO situation, and SIL definitely found out. Apparently, SIL can dish it out, but can't take it. Were you and your boyfriend petty? Heck yeah. But I think it was well deserved at this point, given all you have put up with for 3 years. Also, how dare she come to your home as a guest and trash talk you? That's just plain rude. She never tried with you, she sat in judgment and found you lacking because you don't live according to her principles, religious or otherwise. You took the high road here and apologized, and offered to go to lunch and talk it out. She has refused. Lucky you, the trash took itself out. Feel free to avoid spending any time with Sale going forward, and limiting the time you spend with his family. Update. Sale took to social media and made a post and tagged me. It was a novel long, but the short of it is that I am a hateful woman who doesn't respect parental figures, and it must be because I am an orphan. According to post, I am on drugs and lured her baby onto them too. I've turned him against God and his family. My man damn near blew the lid off our home when he saw it, as he is on FB more than me. He called her and demanded he take it down. The damage was pretty much done. Family out the woodwork are sending me rehab center links, church counseling links, sex addiction help, and my personal favorite is before me and after me photo comparisons, where before me is a photo of him in church with his family at a Mother's Day service, and after is a snap of him at a concert with his tattoos showing, drinking and clearly drunk. Some people even came to the house to stage an intervention. My guy only started to shout and make them leave our home when I was referred to as a classless hussy and shameless slut. Let me transparent, we use THC and weed, but it's legal here and we have jobs and maintain a good life. The after me photo is not actually when we were dating, it was beforehand. And I am not an orphan. SIL is married to an alcoholic who just recently got hammered, ABD wrecked their car, then got arrested for being belligerent with the police and refusing to leave after his car was towed. All over a some freaking dummy. Oh, and I am a shameless slut. So that one felt like a compliment. So I talked with him, avoid limiting contact, and he got upset. He loves his family, and despite this freak show, he loves his sister. He got stressed out and started to have a panic attack. I helped him re-enter, got him water and held him until he was calm again, and he asked we give it a bit of time to die down and he will try to talk sense into SIL. So we're giving it fucking time. I'm not mad at him, I know this is hard for him, but this is crap, and I am being bombarded with texts and even emails telling me I am some demon woman who is shooting up my soul, who hates Christians, and none of that is even true. It's just a lot and I am hating every moment. Comments. Commenter 1. Honestly, you should get ID of him and his crazy family. Reply. I don't blame him for the actions of his family or for feeling torn. He's human. Commenter 2. His family are to blame for their actions, but it's his family and he needs to defend you from them. Allowing the insults you've posted here to stand without a strong reply means that the rest of the family are going to assume he shares that viewpoint to a degree. He may not share it in reality, but that's what they're going to think until he starts actively fighting the disrespect from SIL. In the end, the role of peacekeeper always fails. Despite the title of the post I'm linking to, he needs to learn to rock the boat. Stop being ballast and stop lighting yourselves on fire to keep others warm. Otherwise, it will only continue to get worse. OOP, I appreciate your advice and perspective, but again I won't jump to anything yet in such a short time. I won't air out his whole life until he'd read everything and consents to it, which I think he will, but my guy is not letting me light myself on fire. And he has defended me in the ways he knows how. I'm no doormat, believe me, love. Been through it when I was younger. Learned a lot. But I don't think my patience here is a fault, nor is his hesitancy at this time. Commenter 3. 3 years of not actively fighting back against SIL is being a doormat, but you do you. Reply. Just because I haven't written out our whole history does not make you correct. As I have said before. I appreciate your perspective, but I PWN skip steps, so yes, I will do me. Maybe 6 months from now we will be split, but it will be done right, and if that is displeasing to you, sorry for your discomfort. But I am not a doormat to them or you. Commenter 4. Girl, it's not a blaming him, he's too attached to it and it's not worth your peace. You're just not compatible. Reply. I'm not trying to be any sort of way or confrontational, but there are steps to things like this. I'm not going to just up and dump the guy after a panic attack for having anxiety and having a shit family in under 10 days just because my feelings are hurt. I'm just not at that point yet and want to care for my partner and allow him time to breathe and seek possible other solutions so we can talk it all out and make a choice together as clear-headed as possible. Leaving is not the first resort at trouble in my book. Patience and communication is. He's overwhelmed, so I will give him time for a bit. I think the judgment of our compatibilities would be tough from just this issue. No shade at all, just that I didn't put our whole relationship on here because of word counts, and who wants to read a War and Peace length novel about my fucking life, right, lol. Also, he is now on his phone reading my posts, and if the roles were reversed SND, I was overwhelmed and my partner up and left within a day because I needed to sort my emotions out, I would be devastated. Update. Well, I am out of emotional fucking real estate here, but here goes everything. I have a feeling this isn't going to be short, so TLDR, SIL is depressed and self-harming after we cut her out and BF is clearly hurting. I guess I have to start naming people as this is becoming something of a fucking saga. My BF, Dean, I am a Supernatural fan, so sue me lol, sat me down a few days after my last post. He was very, very calm, and that was my first sign that I needed to gird my loins because I was in for a doozy. For background, generally, I am the calm logically lead one while he is passionate and deep feeling. In this, we became polar opposites of that norm. He looked me right in the eye and asked me point blank no bullshit how this was all affecting me. Every time he would ask before I just couldn't bring myself to tell him how upsetting it all was since I was the put together one all the time, but this time, because he was so calm and direct, I just broke down. Nightmare isn't the word. It was hell. We live around what is known as a small big city, meaning it's big sure, but once you get in certain circles you find that everyone knows you and you know most everyone or at least someone who knows them. So, in a way, it can be like a small town. Our state is generally religious outside our city. So rumors spread. With my SILs, I will call her Ren going forward, social media attacks on me, it was the scuttlebutt everyone craved. Some people sided with her, not most, but enough. I was getting dirty looks, rude treatment, my hairstylist is their cousin and she told me she can't work on my hair anymore until this is resolved, as she was getting pressure from the family, i.e. Ren and Step Mil, Penny. It was schoolyard and immature, but it was enough to make me feel bad. I got done saying all this to Dean, and he said, okay then, we will block them. So matter of fact. I knew it was a hard thing to decide on for him, as he loves the shit out of his family and they are HIW world, so I pushed back at the idea, saying as much and that I couldn't ever stand in the way of him and his whole family. I started to cry harder, and he had to sit me down and get me some wine and water and blanket burrito ed me and hugged me until I could talk again. I said I couldn't live with myself knowing I made him choose me over his family, and he said I hadn't made him, they did. We then started talking logistics because he wasn't budging. I was sad the whole time, because I am usually tough and have a don't give a shit attitude, but he is so close to them and I am not overly close with most of my own family. I hated taking something so rare and beautiful away from him, my fault or no. We cut them off. Blocked almost everyone after sending a text what was happening and why. And worse, it was Ren's birthday party the next day. I took my guy to a festival happening in the city so he wouldn't have to think about it, and we were out until 2 or 3 the next morning. When we got home, our neighbor said we had a lot of people coming to knock on our door. 1 or 2 at a time. And a couple then asked our neighbors if we were home. Later, when I was making lunch, the police came by for a wellness check. They said his mother is concerned about him. Him. Not me. Just him. Dean said coldly that his mother is dead, and if his father's wife sent them, he wanted it on record that they were not in touch and he wanted no contact. Penny was at our door by dinner. Some of this was before I got into the room because I was cooking, but Dean told me he heard a knock and thought it was the neighbors and opened without looking. Ren was standing there, eyes red as if she had been crying. She asked to come in, and he said no, so she started to cry, loudly, and I heard it and came to see what the fuss was. She had fallen into him sobbing and wailing, asking what she did that was so wrong that he's treating her like this. That he's her baby, and she loves him, but he is so cold and mean to her now and all that bullshit. I was angry, but I saw his face, he was tearing up and pushed her away, asking her to leave. That's when she saw me. She was sobbing an apology like, I am so sorry if I ever made you feel like you're not family. You won. Please don't take my baby from us. She went on to say if this is about their religion then they won't pray around me and stuff like that, and when she finally stopped rambling I said it was not about their religion. I am atheist, sure, that's my choice. But I don't mind people having faith in something. I actually somewhat envy people who do, as I just don't and probably can't. I told her it was about my treatment from her and others in the family. That I was cast as the villain for almost 3 fucking years and I was prepared to grin and bear our whole natural lives, but then she gets nastier with me with the gossip mill, and above all that, she put hands on me. She had the absolute gumption, gal, to slap me, and the family collectively decided to let that slide. I won't tolerate physical abuse. I had an abusive ex. I won't be accepting that. Ever. Honestly, that was the singular thing that made me realize 2 things. She will never respect or care about me, and more, that I can never respect her ever from that moment on. It all just flooded out me. I never yelled. I was just firm and direct about it. This is what happened. This is the hurt you did, and here are the consequences. She practically collapsed in our home wailing by the time I finished, and she would interject, okay, you hate me, I get it, or I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, and things like that. I asked Dean to get her water, and he did. When he returned and handed her the glass, he said she should drink something, and she shook her head and said that she couldn't. We asked her if she hurt herself getting to the ground, and she just got really calm and wiped her eyes and had this weird frown, tears still streaming down. She told us that she came to apologize, and she apologized, but we've been clear we don't want anything to do with her or the family, and that breaks her heart. She can't eat or drink anymore because life is not worth living knowing Dean hates her. Dean shook his head but said nothing other than, "Don't mistreat yourself like that. That's not fair." Then she just walked through the door and said that I won, he's mine, and to please take care of him for her. The moment the door closed, Dean started to cry. I tried to comfort him, but he pulled away. He said he isn't mad at me or anything, but that was just a lot, and he feels like shit. He told me he knew she was being manipulative but he almost wanted to take her apology because it's just been so hard and he knows she will spin this somehow to make us look as callous and hateful as possible and his father would be ashamed of him. A week goes by, and Dean has cheered up a bit. He apologized to me for crying, to which I said he never has to apologize to me for his feelings or crying or anything like that, and that I am proud of him for being rational in an entirely irrational moment. He is making friends and picking up hobbies where family events would be like instead of mass and Sunday dinner. He goes to shoot hoops with a community group. He signed up for a patch on the community garden, and he's been taking the time he would usually take to hang out with Penny and help around the house to volunteer at the animal shelter down the way from our home. He came home this past Monday in a bad mood. He was honest that he was upset and would be bad company, so he needed space, so I obliged and went out with a friend. When I came home, he asked me to sit down and said he logged into social media, and a friend messaged him a post that Penny made about Ren asking for prayers. Ren was severely depressed and had quit doing much of anything according to the post, and she was suffering from the heartbreak of her life, but they didn't explain what that was. This friend of Dean's comment if there is anything we can all do, and Penny replied, pray, and nothing more. Yesterday rolls around and Teddy calls, he's not blocked or cut off because he's been having our backs, to tell us Ren is in the hospital as she tried to take all of her meds at once. She's been asking for Dean. I told him that she's in the hospital, and he can go to her if she wants, and I even will go with him or not depending on what he tells me he needed, but he refused to go. He's been blue ever since, and I'm worried. Ren is practically a mother to him, so I know it's hard. I feel like shit because this is really all because I agreed to some stupid joke to fire back at hers. Normally, I would just say these are manipulation tactics, but to down pills out of spite is some next level commitment to the bit, and I feel like I've really shattered my man's world. I don't know if I need to give him time, or sit him down right now, or up our therapy, or take him on a vacation or fucking what. He's my person. I hurt when he hurts. And we're fucking hurting right now. Sorry this went so long, I guess I had more to say than I thought. Comments. Commenter 1. Why hasn't Dean admitted to them all that he was the progenitor of the prank? Had he even tried to publicly call them on their BS? Reply. He has. He told Ren and others many times how it happened, but Ren especially insisted I forced him to lie. He also commented on some of the posts made on social media before we blocked everyone. Update. We've endured a lot from his family at this point. From them calling into my job to complain about me, to the police coming by because I am abusing him. I won't make this another War and Peace manuscript by typing all that happened out, but it's been a lot. Dean got a job elsewhere in the state. It's been a roller coaster for him. We talked it out and he accepted. He doesn't want to be near family anymore. Well, that Medusa of a woman found out and Teddy told us she's throwing a fit. So I just knew she would come around soon. I told Dean this and he looked at me and said, "You think so?" And I said I know so. So he came home that next day with more skeletons. They are propped up around the porch, in the yard, and next to the garage. They have names. He named them Boney Stark, Merrill Monroe, Tibia Turner. He's given them backstories. The man has lost his mind, lol. Sure enough, she showed up. We have a ring cam now, so we both got alerts and saw her coming. He got up and said he would take care of it, so I just watched the cam and stayed in bed. He tells her to leave and she demanded to know why he was moving. She was blaming it on me, making it seem like I bullied him into the job and he needs to come to his senses and leave me. He refused. So she slapped him. Twice. Then started to cuss at him, hitting him with her fists, and he backed up and pushed her away. Then she falls and starts to scream that he's hit her and that he's a monster and she's calling for help. She woke up the whole neighborhood with her bullshit. Dean was doing his best to stay calm but opened the door and told me to call the police. And I watched her smugly say that if he dares, she will tell them that he and I attacked her. And shows him her arm, and says she had the injuries, and no one will believe him. He just stared at her and went inside. She went nuts and threw Boney Stark into the rosebushes. Then, she sat on our porch just fucking chilling until the police arrived. She threw on the waterworks the moment the cop car pulled in. She actually had gotten out of the chair meant for Boney, laid down on the stairs and started to cry. Police sorted this pretty quickly because as Oscar-worthy of a performance she gave, we had footage. It was my turn to be smug. I cast it on our large TV for all to see. She cussed me out saying I was a bitch and a loser, a harpy who charmed her baby and lunged for me. Dean got in the way and told her to get the fuck out of our house and that she's disgusting and manipulative. He then said, "I'm not your baby. And you know what? Thank you. Thank you for showing me who you are. Now I can't wait to get away from you." Good job. I think she figured it all out in that moment because this time when she cried, I believed her. She just sobbed and the cops took her outside. We had her legally removed and put in a request for a restraining order. We currently have a temporary one for the case to be reviewed, but it expires after we move, so now we are just being careful about our information. Dean was really sad the first few days but now is excited. He keeps talking about the city we are moving to. It's very fun, odd, and has a lot of live music and events. I know he will mourn it once it catches up with him and he's keeping busy to not think about it too much, but it is good to see him smile. I missed that. The family tried harassing us, but he would forward the footage and tell them if they don't want him to go fully NC to cut it out and keep her under control. Sometimes it makes him cry and other times it just makes him mad. I've asked if he wanted me to take over some of this and he says no. He just wants us to ride this out, pack up, and get settled in the city. Oh, and the skeletons are coming with us. Comments. Commenter 1. Does anyone else think she might be Dean's bio mom? There is an 18-year age gap between them. Commenter 2. Possible. I was 13 when I learned in an argument my sister was my mother and mom was my grandmother. Fucked me up for 20 years. Update. Turns out when you threaten to go no contact and follow through, tunes change. Sal can't contact us due to a restraining order, so she tried to lean on other members of the family. No one really buckled under that pressure aside from a stray mishap here or there, but we would be quick to block. Dean has been very protective since everything happened and we've since moved, and yes, we brought the skeletons and we have more now. It was fine all until Smil contacted me directly asking me not to talk to Dean yet, but she is worried this has gone on too long. Sil had thought herself pregnant back in July, but it turned out not to be the case. But since then she has been insistent she is having a baby with Smil and some other members of the family. Dean and I were not aware of this. Sil then, according to Smil, accidentally called Dean her son in front of the extended family after we moved. This has put it in her head that this might be possible. I don't know quite what to do. I haven't told Dean about this yet because it's ridiculous and sounds too much like a soap opera or something. And he's finally in a good place in staying KO contact. We are closer to my family, not related but the closest I've got to family really, and we've had a full social calendar since we've moved. I told a friend about this and she says I have to talk to Dean about this so he's not blindsided later, and I would normally agree, but I hate that this woman has been on our minds so much of the time all the time and don't want her to continue to ruin what we have. I'm going myself the weekend to figure out if I will tell him or not. In the meantime I got him a new skeleton named Manfred from his favorite video game, hopefully to keep things light. Update. So Dean and I have moved. I started a new job here and Dean's been thriving in his. Since my last post it's been pretty quiet. I told Dean about the weird slip-up his sister said calling him her son. He didn't really react at all at first. About a month later as we are moving, he packs our files and important documents and he went through them. He asked me if I thought it was possible and I just said I didn't really know. We made the conclusion over time that it could be true and it could simply not be true by either way. The woman he calls his mother remains just that and he keeps her memory. Whatever his sister is biologically doesn't matter. He's cut off most of his family, and we've started to build a life here in our new city. Teddy visits sometimes but it's mostly just me and Dean. We recently got engaged after we adopted a dog and he joked that now that we have a child, I should make an honest man out of him. It's a lot happening, but after we had our fun with skeletons at our new place, we literally dress them for every odd holiday or legit holiday, doesn't matter to us. And added some with name tags and costumes. It's safe to say this is just tradition now. Last month, Teddy told us that Dean's sister punched their stepmother in th face. We don't know why, but we do know charges are being pressed. I guess it's good we got away when we did, so I guess this is my last update. Thanks for letting me vent about this insanity. Send me any ideas you have for skeleton names. We have more in the basement but don't have names for them. Comments. Commenter. I'm glad y'all are doing well. It sounds like it's definitely been an emotional roller coaster for a while. You could name one of your skeletons Humorous Hank. I have a skeleton that rides in the back of my car named Boner Bob that I dress up for the different seasons. Stories number 10. Aita for calling my mom insane for expecting me to be mad at my dad's side of the family because they didn't treat my step and half siblings like me. My dad died when I was really young. Him and my mom weren't together and he had primary custody of me. After he died, mom got custody and tried to cut his family out of my life, so they sued for grandparents' rights and won. So my mom had custody and my paternal relatives had regular visitation. I, 17M, was 9 when my mom remarried. Her husband brought my 3 step-siblings along, and pretty much right away my mom and stepdad started having kids together. Soon after my mom and her husband moved in together, she asked my grandparents to be emergency contacts for my step-siblings. Then it was expecting them to include my step-siblings when it was their visitation time. Then calling and asking them to babysit. My grandparents said no, and so did every member of Dad's family who Mom asked. Mom would lose her mind every time she saw them, and she called them all sorts of shit for not including my step-siblings. Then my mom had another reason for a grudge. My parents weren't ever religious, so I was never baptized, but my dad got a bunch of photos of me in his old christening outfit. My grandparents had it after Dad died, and Mom wanted photos of my half-siblings in it since she had photos of me in it. She decided it was reasonable for her to use it for my half-siblings for that reason, and she didn't like when she was told no. I knew only some parts of it, but it wasn't until a couple of weeks ago that Mom told me all that and expected me to be mad at Dad's side of my family on my step and half-siblings' behalf. She told me they deserved better, and how could I not be mad at it, and I told her it was insane to think I would be, and that I'm old enough to get that her kids and stepkids are nothing to Dad's family. She told me it's not insane and I'm being abusive calling her that. She said it's gaslighting and trying to drive her crazy, and she raised me better than that. Stories number 11. Aita for moving away and making my friend homeless and then ignoring her calls for help. I, 31F, have this friend, 33F, who has been living with me these past 3 years. She wasn't on the lease. Nor did she pay rent, but she did give me money occasionally and would buy stuff for the apartment. In the beginning she would help with cleaning, like doing dishes sometimes. She did have a habit of collecting useless junk, used bike tires for example, that would start piling up in my dining room, and she would get upset if I threw something away or moved it. We got in a few arguments over it. Her reasons being that these items was all she had and that I wouldn't understand because I grew up privileged, so of course I didn't see what the big deal was throwing away these items. I still don't, to be honest. Anyways, after a while I began to feel a lot of resentment towards her, and I felt she had started taking me for granted. I ended up moving. I told her I planned on moving 2 months prior, but she didn't seem to take me seriously. Or maybe she assumed I was taking her with me. Ick. But I moved. And because of that she is now homeless. She's been calling me daily saying she doesn't feel good and that she doesn't know what to do, and now she just sits in front of 711 doing nothing. I stopped answering her calls. And I feel bad, but I just don't want her living with me anymore. It's like she's completely dependent on others to come rescue her, and it's exhausting. Why do I feel like such a bad person? Should I help her, or is she just trying to manipulate me? Edit. Just wanted to add more info about my friend as it may influence the overall opinion of her. She grew up in foster care and aged out at 18. She's had the same caseworker since, who has helped her with housing in the past. She sees her caseworker about once every few months. Also, she has a high school diploma and was a licensed massage therapist. But said she couldn't renew her license due to financial reasons and sorta just fell off and hasn't been back up since. This was in 2015. 10 years ago. Stories number 12. I had our baby and my partner won't split the $12,000 hospital bill with me. $12,000 is the total we need to pay after having our daughter. My partner refuses to contribute because it's my bill, my problem. The hospital bill's the mother and not the father, even though it's our baby. My partner makes slightly more than me. He says he shouldn't need to contribute because he pays for everything else for our daughter. I feel that this isn't fair. Update. I had our baby and my partner won't split the hospital bill with me. I didn't think I would be on here this quickly to update. My partner was acting weird the other day when I grabbed his phone to call my phone to find it. I couldn't get his reaction out of my head when he freaked out when I grabbed his phone. I went through his phone. My partner cheated on me while I was pregnant. He claims he didn't cheat on me because it doesn't count because it was a white girl. WTF. He had sex with her because it was a one-time opportunity that he always wanted to try. This is the stupidest thing anyone ever said to me. He said it wasn't serious, and I know that he's not cuffing no white girl. How he's still here with me and our baby at the end of the day. A man may wander around, but he always comes home to his family at the end of the day. Wow, I don't know what to do. Leaving is the first thing that comes to mind. But I'm a new mother. I just had a baby. We're stuck in a lease together for another year. I can't afford to be on my own. I have to stay here regardless, and I'm just gonna make it awkward for breaking up with him just to still come home to him every day. Stories number 13. Aita for not giving my money to help out my sister. I am a 18-year-old man, and my sister is 22. Ever since we were young, she was always the priority for my parents. Don't get me wrong, they never treated me badly, but she was obviously the one they put more effort in. She would get better clothes, a better room, an allowance and other things. While I was never treated badly, things were as good for me. I was never given any pocket money by my parents, thus, I started to work really early, 14, as I've learned a few skills in programming and had a good portfolio by then, GitHub, so it was easier for me to get freelancing jobs. In my country, there's some banks that allow people underage to open accounts, but they are still under supervision of their parents. Since I started to work, I became somewhat of an introvert, but that's not the point. Most of my adolescence I spent working on projects. Everything I got I used to help out with bills at my house and saved the rest on my account. The reason I did that was because it is my dream to go to a specific university. It's my dream school as they have an extremely respected course in programming, and while college itself is free in my country, living isn't, and that school is in one of the most expensive cities in my country. Now, I'm finally 18 and we're in the middle of the entrance exams. I already passed in the first test with flying marks and I believe the next one shouldn't be a problem as well. However, since I turned 18, I'm no longer suitable for the same kind of bank account I had, which is only for underage, and needed to change. My mother and I went to the bank to change the account, and during that time she saw the amount I had saved. I won't put numbers, but it's enough for me to live without working for the duration of the course. Though it won't be a frugal life. That day during dinner, she and my father started to talk about what I want to do in the future, and I explained to them. However, after a few moments, they stopped me in my tracks. They said that while it was all good that I had an objective, right now, my sister was in financial trouble, as she just had her second kid, and her husband and her could really use some help. My mother asked me to give my sister my savings and I was really shocked. I told her how much I worked for that, and that it was my money, and I didn't want to give it to my sister, as that meant not going to my dream college, since my parents couldn't support me living there. My father said, "Well, you're still young and you can always earn more money. Your sister needs it." We argued more and I went to my room. However, I'm being constantly harassed and called an asshole by my family. There's so much of this, that I can't help but feeling like I'm a horrible person. So, Aita, relevant comments. Commenter 1. NTA, call your bank and make them aware of this and warn them of this. Make sure your account is in your name only and no one else can withdraw money. All the best to you. Commenter 1. NTA, if your sister is old enough to have 2 children and a husband, she's old enough to get her finances in line. Not to mention, it's your money, you earned it, and nobody should be forcing you to do anything you don't want to do with it. The fact that they looked one look at your bank account and said, this should all go to our daughter, really does not sit right with me. OOP when asked what bills he helps pay. I've helped with electricity, water, rent and utilities, groceries. It wasn't a huge amount. I usually gave them 40% of what I made during the month. I just worked a lot. Update. First, thank you all who told me to change accounts in banks. While that account was already under my name alone, I took the extra step of changing banks. Now, about the whole problems with my family. After I read the replies on the post, I knew I wasn't in the wrong and decided to confront my parents on that. I told them I was not going to give up my dream, especially since I worked so hard to achieve it. That escalated our conflict, especially after they found out I changed banks. It all culminated with my parents kicking me out of their house. I expected them to be angry, but I never expected that overreaction. Regardless, I can't really cry over spilt milk. I managed to find a friend who allowed me to stay at his house for a few days, and that's the reason I haven't updated this sooner. I stayed for a few days and decided it was time for me to move to the city in which I hope to attend college. Now, I found an apartment and I already moved cities. I will need to find work for now, as currently, I don't have a roommate as I was hoping to find one once college started. To be honest, I have absolutely no idea what I am doing right now, but that's something I'll have to learn. I changed all my documents and especially the place I'll be taking the second stage of the entrance exam. So all I can do now, I wait and see what future has in store for me. For those who asked about my sister, I contacted her after I was kicked out and explained to her the situation. She was mortified, and told me that she never once asked our parents for help or money. She said she was indeed tight on money, but nothing she and her husband couldn't handle, and she would never accept my money. Just to make sure, I have absolutely no resentment of my sister. While we did grow apart once she got married, she still is my sister. I believe she didn't really have anything to do with my parents' behavior, and I'm very thankful for that. I absolutely adore my niece, and I'm looking forward to meet my nephew one of these days. Anyway, my parents still very much think I'm an asshole and an ungrateful child. Still sending messages and stuff like that. I'm just ignoring it for now, but I can't say it doesn't hurt to see my own parents say stuff like that. Well, anyway, I just want to thank you all once more for everything. Stay safe everyone. Comment 1. Can you please make another update whether or not you going to the college and how you're doing now? Smiling face smiling face. Reply. Hey there, thank you for remembering me. I don't really think I'll make a full updated. But I can tell you at least. I've been well, it's hard living in a new city, but I've finished my entrance exams and was accepted into college. I started my course not too long after this update was made, in March, and I'm well in the middle of the semester. I'm loving it and I'm doing the best I can. I haven't had contact with my parents since I left, but I occasionally talk with my sister through video calls. Once more, thank you for remembering me. Comment 2. Hey, was just curious to how things are going now. It's been a month, and I just wanted to see if you landed on your feet alright. Cheers. Reply. I'm terribly sorry for not answering this beforehand. I've been well this past few months. I was accepted into college and started it back in March. Things are going smoothly so far and I'm having an amazing time. I still don't have contact with my parents, but I've talked with my sister a couple of times through video calls. Anyway, thank you for remembering. Cheers. Comment 3. Hey, just saw your first 2 posts on your parents. How is life going now? I hope you are doing well. Reply. Oh, sorry. Since this was removed, I never checked again, but things aren't that much different. I haven't talked with my parents since. I do have some contact with my sister, but we live almost 500 kilometers away. Stories number 14. Aita for giving the concert ticket I promised to my dad to someone else after I found out he was planning to take my stepsister with us. My parents have been divorced most of my life and I had a good relationship with dad until I was 11. That's when he remarried and I felt like he prioritized his stepkids but mostly his stepdaughter who's my age. Suddenly he was showing up less to stuff like my hockey games and he was always cheering me on at those. Any plans we made he'd try to bring his stepdaughter into and he'd ask me why I wasn't doing more to bond with her. He didn't care as much about me bonding with his stepson, but it was like his stepdaughter was all he cared about. Sometimes he ruined the few moments we had together by saying how much he wished she was there with us. Or he'd answer calls when he didn't answer calls when he was with them. I started going to his house less. I'm 16 so I can choose that as long as I still go some of the time. Dad was like, I miss you, why don't you come every other week like you used to, and I told him why. He asked me why I was acting like I hated his stepdaughter. I told him I didn't hate her but I don't want to include her in our time. I told him I don't want to feel like I come in second and like he doesn't care so much now. He asked me how he cares more about his stepkids. I said he goes to all his stepson's football games and he goes to all his stepdaughter's competitions and recitals. He doesn't even go to half of mine anymore when he used to. And I told him he stays to watch them practice but never comes to mine. Then I brought up the phone calls and how if anyone calls while he's with me he answers but if he's with them he mutes his phone. I told him I deserved the same level of consideration. I told him to leave me alone since he wanted to fight with me on it. And things were so tense for a few weeks. He then apologized to me and said he wanted to make it up to me and he asked if I'd give him the second concert ticket I got for my birthday and take him and we can have the day to ourselves. I asked him if that meant just him and me and he said yes. He said he was sorry to have made me feel that way and he never wanted me to feel less important. So I told him he could have the other ticket and we'd go together. I didn't give it to him though and now I'm glad because last week I found out he bought a ticket so his stepdaughter could come with us. Dad got mad at me because I got crying mad at him and I told him he wasn't getting it. I ended up giving it to my grandma and she decided to come with me, and 2 of my friends who already had their own tickets. Dad told me it was a spiteful move and that he couldn't afford a second one. Then he said his stepdaughter couldn't go on her own. I told him she's not welcome to come with us or tag along and he can figure it out. I even said fuck you to him because I was that mad. My dad tried to get my mom to discipline me for it but she had my back. He said I'm being taught to be childish and spiteful and he said even saying his stepdaughter isn't welcome around me and my friends says how I'll punish others when my feelings get hurt. Stories number 15. My wife moved her ex-husband into our home and told me she wanted a divorce. Things changed when he decided to leave after a week and I'm unsure how to move forward in the relationship. 25M and 28F. My wife and I have been going through a difficult time over the past few months. She told me she's felt unappreciated and disconnected, partly because of some choices I made, like changing jobs, which affected our finances briefly, and being more physically affectionate than she wanted during that time. I've been trying to address her concerns, but this week, things escalated in a way I wasn't prepared for. She told me she wanted a divorce and moved her ex-husband into our home. They have 3 children together, and she reorganized our living space. Their youngest is now sharing a room with her ex, formerly our bedroom, and I was moved to a separate room entirely. This all happened while I was at work. A few days later, I went through her phone, something I regret doing, but I discovered a long history of emotional conversations between her and her ex, starting around when she began distancing herself from me. They were discussing their past relationship, saying they loved each other, and planning for him to move back in. She had already started filling out divorce paperwork by early May. When I confronted her, we ended up having a serious talk. She explained that she never wanted to end her first marriage and that she did this for the kids so they didn't have to grow up in a broken family. I understand where she is coming from, being raised by a single mother and not knowing her father most of her life, but I'm also from a broken family where I was abused, and I believe that her going back and being in a relationship with him is not right because she is doing it for the wrong reasons, and that would only hurt and confuse the children more. I understand the emotional weight behind that, but it's still been very painful to process. Since then, her ex has left again. She's been softer toward me and said she's confused and hurting. She also said she would understand if I chose to leave. I'm still here and trying to find a way to move forward, because this relationship matters a lot to me. Right now, I'm trying to figure out how to navigate the aftermath of what happened. This isn't the first time her ex has come back into the picture in a disruptive way. I want to move forward thoughtfully, but I'm unsure what that looks like from here. I'm looking for advice from others who've navigated a similar situation. How did you approach rebuilding trust, managing shared living spaces, or figuring out if the relationship was still viable? What steps helped you move forward? Stories number 16. Aita for telling my male friend that he's shit at sex. One of my 24F male friends, I'll call Jack, 25M, is a bit of a lad and very good looking. Jack basically thinks that lad points are important. He's always going on about how many girls he's been with and how high body count is. I lived with him in a house share for a while, and whenever he brought a girl home, he'd make sure to parade her around by introducing her, spend 15 to 20 minutes in his room having sex, then come out and strut around naked or in his boxers. Yes, he really would. I remember saying a few times, "Why are you out here? You have a beautiful girl in your room and you're not in there with her." This behavior was pretty common for him, and even though he was an almighty douche, we were still friends. Anyway, after about 8 months of living together, after a drunken night, me and Jack ended up in bed together. Honestly, it was terrible, and having slept with him I realized something. Jack had a big dick, which I knew because of his strutting, but he thought that having a big dick automatically meant he was good at sex. Like it just immediately made him amazing in bed. Our sex was shit, like hands down the worst sex I'd ever had. No foreplay, he left lights and TV on, then unceremoniously shoved himself inside me. The whole thing was basically a race for him to get inside me as quickly as possible. Maybe 10 minutes of uncomfortable jackhammering, then he was done. The next morning I was really sore because 1. I wasn't wet at all, 2. His dick was big. But because I was sore, he took that as him doing a bang-up job. Anyway, that experience was a few years ago, and even after all this time, Jack is still the same lad he was and still fucks girls like they're lined up on a conveyor belt for him. Back to the present. Recently, my husband and I hosted a barbecue in our garden, as gatherings are now allowed. Jack came over as he's in our mutual group. Of course, after a while Jack starts going on about the girls he's fucked, and even showing up another girl at the party by telling people he'd fucked her. It's then he turns to me and asks if I can prove to the lads how fire he is at sex. Slightly embarrassed but also angry he even mentioned me, I straight up told him he was shit. Basically worst sex I ever had. I then went on to say what happened and that he only has sex just to say that he's had sex. It wasn't fun, pleasurable or enjoyable, and for the record I didn't come. Amazingly enough, 2 other girls also backed up what I was saying. Saying their nights with him were pretty much the same to how I described it. Jack got defensive and angry, but we wouldn't drop it. He eventually left absolutely fuming. My husband, who knows I slept with him years before, said I was insensitive, especially as it seems Jack relies heavily on the lad sex god persona he's created. I don't think so. It was about time Jack was called out for being shit in bed and maybe use this to learn how to actually have sex. All the boys in the group think I'm an ass for calling Jack out, me and the girls disagree. Edit. Holy cow, this got way more attention than I thought it would. Thanks for all the comments, and thank you kind strangers for the awards. Should clear a few things up. A lot of people asking why I was or am friends with Jack. I was back then, because honestly at times he was a decent guy, just blanketed by a douchey exterior. After I moved out of the house, we fell out of close contact but are still hovering in mutual friend circles. I'm not directly friends with him now, but he's still a friend of a friend and we are normally civil. Edit 2, I really don't get why people are misunderstanding the story. For the record, I did not cheat on my husband. Jack and I had a one-night stand together years ago while we were at uni. I wouldn't consider him my friend now, but we still have mutuals from different social circles and we do occasionally still see one another. Info, basically my friend group, close mutual extended, all knew or knew of each other at uni. I'm British and now live in the States. I attended uni between the ages of 18 to 21. At 19 I went to the States for a year abroad, and the sister uni is where I met my now husband. Jack is American and was an international student doing exchange. I was first year, he was second year. I, a first year, ended up living with Jack because I decided to go to uni last minute, and as halls were full, ended up responding to a house share ad. A lot of students drop out after making a house share commitment, so these ads are common. I actually met my husband, also American, through Jack, as Jack was one of my only known contacts when I moved to the States. My British uni and his American uni were linked. I met my husband a year after I slept with Jack. I could not possibly have had any idea that my housemate and one-night stand would go on to introduce me to my future husband. My husband knew Jack and I slept together because unfunnily enough, Jack brought it upon our first meeting. Living together, Jack and I mainly bonded over weed and raves, and although he was sometimes somewhat decent, looking back I'm disgusted at our so-called friendship. I could write an essay on how he treated me. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. NTA. He sounds like a total jerk and womanizer. It was about time he was put in his place. I'm honestly surprised it didn't happen sooner and that all of your friend group has even allowed him around this long. Reply. I honestly think no girl spoke up before because maybe from embarrassment. I remember not saying anything at the time as even though he was an ass, I genuinely thought he was great at sex, and maybe my experience was the odd one out, of maybe it was just me. Turns out every girl experienced the same thing. Also Jack's friend group can only go on his own words, obviously his mates could never know the reality of it, so Jack heavily relied on his own bragging. What are lad points? Lad points are a code between guys, a kind of invisible currency that rewards them for certain types of behavior, mostly revolving around sex or drinking. So like the more girls they sleep with the more lad points they get. And lad god persona, basically this guy and what I think many other guys do is mold their personality around their sex lives. E.g. Jack has created this false reputation of himself for being amazing in bed, and because he has that reputation, it makes him popular around other guys' lads. Update. Honestly, reading through the comments of women praising me for standing up and being honest, warms my heart. I greatly appreciate the support I got and the response my post got has encouraged me to be a stronger person. Yes, in that moment I was angry, but now I feel that I can continue standing up for myself and not taking any more shit. I ended up telling my husband I posted this on Reddit, and seeing how popular the post was and the comments for himself, he was immediately upset that people had called him an asshole for not standing up for me. From that we had a long, and maybe overdue discussion. I laid out how embarrassing the situation was for me, and how, after dealing with so much shit from Jack, I wasn't going to apologize for tearing him down. Like so many people commented on, I asked my husband why he was okay with Jack's comments, as surely Jack embarrassed him as well. I even pointed to a hilarious string of comments, with my personal favorite. I think it's funny that the husband was disagreeing, like, honey, be nice and tell Jack he has bomb-ass dick, go ahead and tell everyone he laid the pipe, go on, my husband reasoned, that's just Jack. He doesn't really mean any harm in what he jokes about. I told my husband how I felt and he honestly didn't realize that all this time the sexual jokes made me so uncomfortable and that I just covered up my uneasiness by just going along with it. I also wanted to distance myself from his friends, close and mutual. As right now I feel like there was never any respect before and certainly won't be any respect for me after. As I'm still getting messages from the boys calling me a bitch, slut, whore, you name it. I told my husband that if he wasn't going to stand up for me or stand with me, I would leave him. The persona he has around his friends is completely different to his true personality and is not the man I married. I respect myself more than to let my husband and his friends disregard my feelings in such a blatant way, and worse, allow my husband to witness and just stand by me getting publicly humiliated. My husband is not confrontational whatsoever and admitted he was also very embarrassed but kept quiet. He has never said anything before because Jack is the ringleader of the group and didn't want to go up against him. And as it turns out, it isn't the first time Jack has made comments about me to my husband, I just haven't been there to witness it. Furious at that, I told my husband that breaking away from the toxic group would be best for the both of us, but if he wants to be Jack's lapdog then I won't get in the way of that. I'm pleased to say my husband chose me. He apologized for his own complicit behavior and agreed our lives would improve without our so-called friends. I think me pointing out that his friends disrespecting me were in turn disrespecting him got him to see the reality of it. Truthfully, if they had any shred of respect for him as a friend, they would not be putting him down publicly as well. We were both the butt of the joke. One last point, I didn't apologize to Jack and I never intend to. Honestly, I never intend to speak to him again, but I did message him before I blocked him. To sum up, I messaged to detail point by point why he was bad in bed. That having a big dick doesn't equate to being great in bed, and to get off his high horse. Women are not sexual objects for you to parade around and embarrass, and maybe if you could please a woman, you wouldn't just have to rely on getting girls drunk from the club or bar. I also let him know that how he treats female friends is appalling, and he needs to reflect not just on his sex game but who he is as a person. So, I've informed Jack of his lack of skills and he is no longer ignorant. If he continues with his behavior, that is not on me. For the record, yes, women should be open and honest in bed, but I don't think it should be a woman's responsibility to let a man know. I mean, guys, read the room. Once again, thank you for the brilliant and supportive comments. Thank you for the awards, and finally, to all the chads, lads, bros and jacks out there, you ain't shit. Sincerely, Women Everywhere X. Stories number 17. Aita for refusing to keep helping my friend with her side hustle after she started treating me like an unpaid employee. I, 28F, have a friend, Chloe, 29F, who started an online jewelry business a few months ago. She asked me to help out here and there with packaging and social media stuff, saying it'd be chill and fun. I agreed cause I wanted to support her. At first, it was super low-key, like an hour or two a week. But over the last couple of months, it's gotten way out of hand. She sends me daily to-do lists, expects me to drop everything for her biz, and gets mad if I don't put her stuff before my actual job. She's even started calling me her social media assistant to our friends, even though I'm not paid at all. Last week, she told me I had to spend my entire Saturday helping her prep for a craft fair, saying, "You owe me this, you're part of the team." I told her nicely that I love supporting her, but I'm not her employee and my time is valuable. I said I couldn't keep helping if it's not casual and if there's no pay for all the extra work. Chloe flipped out and called me selfish, saying I was abandoning her and not a real friend. Now she's telling our friends I'm the bad guy for not helping her dream come true. Aita for setting a boundary and refusing to do unpaid work. Stories number 18. Aita for telling my husband I already knew that he cheated on me. A week and a half ago I was on his phone to order something on Amazon. There was a notification from a number I didn't recognize. I clicked on it and there were months worth of flirty texts, inappropriate pictures, and she even asked him to come to her apartment a few times. I knew I couldn't stay with him because he was a cheater, obviously, but I couldn't break things off immediately. We have 3 kids together, a 5 years old, a 1-year-old and a 2-month-old. I don't want him to get the kids, but we signed a prenup because he had some money he wanted to protect. I was scared that a judge would give him custody because he can afford to take care of them better, but the prenup had a clause where it's dissolved if he's unfaithful. I wasn't going to do anything crazy. I just wanted to find a lawyer before mentioning anything to him. But yesterday he told me about the cheating and apologized. I told him I knew about it already. He got mad at me for not telling him sooner. He told me that I'm ruining our family by keeping secrets from him. Like, okay, hypocrite much? But anyways, now I'm also wondering if I should forgive him since he came clean. I still want our kids to grow up normal. I don't want a broken home for them. If he was willing to tell me and to apologize, could we still make things work? Aita for not telling him I knew sooner. Wipta if I still divorce him after he told me about it. Stories number 19. Aita for secretly replacing my late brother's ashes with fireplace ash so I could keep the real ones. My brother passed away 2 years ago. We were incredibly close, he basically raised me after our parents died. He had always said he didn't want to be buried or scattered, he wanted to stay with the people he loved. When he passed, the family decided to scatter his ashes at our childhood home's lake. I was devastated. I wanted to keep a small urn, but my older cousin, who organized the memorial, said that was morbid and selfish and insisted all the ashes be scattered together. Everyone else went along with it. Here's where it gets weird. I work at a lab, and I quietly took a small portion of his ashes home before the official scattering. To avoid suspicion, I replaced what I took with a near-identical weight of gray fireplace ash. No one noticed. I now have a tiny urn in my apartment, and I feel closer to him because of it. I told my best friend recently, and she was horrified. She said it was deceptive, disrespectful to the rest of the family, and possibly even spiritually selfish. I hadn't thought of it like that. I never meant to hurt anyone, it just felt like my only way to keep a piece of him with me. So, Aita for secretly replacing some of my brother's ashes before the family scattered them. Stories number 20. My BF set me up to see if I'd cheat on him, making this post through a fake account. My 19F, BF, 22M, got a friend of his to bait me and see if I'd cheat on him. We've been together for a year and I have never cheated on him, or in any relationship I've ever been in. I didn't know people did this dumb shit in real life either. We all hung out on Sunday, 3 of us, and my BF left to go to the store for something. I don't even talk to his friends, so I was surprised he was being so chatty with me. I responded to not to be rude, but I didn't want to talk to him. Then all of a sudden he's saying how attractive I look, and how he's always liked me since he first met me. I told him he was weird as fuck and he stopped and apologized. Just 5 fucking minutes later, he puts his hands in between my thighs and starts talking about things we can do before my BF gets back. I can't explain how scared and mad I was all in that moment. I felt bad my BF had such a piece of shit friend, and I was scared because I've had some other dude try to force himself on me. I left the room to wait outside for my BF. My BF and I went home, and I was really scared to tell him what happened that same night, so I waited till the morning. I was crying trying to explain what happened, and my BF hugs me and tells me it was just a test and I did good. I won't talk about the fight we had, but his reason for it was he wanted to propose to me but needed to make sure. I'm embarrassed and sad. He gave his friend permission to touch me and he doesn't even trust me. Why would he want to marry someone he can't trust? Top comments. Commenter 1. But he failed the test of being trustworthy and keeping you safe. Dump him. Commenter 2. You're breaking up with him, right? Commenter 3. He wants to marry someone he can control. If you stay with him, you show that you're under him, someone he can test and play with, like a pet. That's not how you treat another person. Update. I made this post a couple days ago and I've had some PMs asking what happened. In a tough situation right now, with no one to talk to. I broke up with him the day I made the post. It was a horrible breakup and he didn't take it well. I got spam calls, messages and even emails. I thought everything would be okay if I ignored him. Wrong. He showed up to my place making a scene. I let him in and we talked. Somehow got me to give him a second chance. He stayed over for about 2 more days and we broke up again after a fight. He threatened to kill himself, but I didn't care. I guess he saw it wasn't working and he then threatened to leak our sex tapes. To my knowledge we've never made one, but I know he wanted to badly. I'm unsure whether one does exist, and if it does I don't want it leaked. I told him we could keep dating, but I don't want to be with him. He's staying at mine and I don't want him here. I'm not scared he'll hurt me, but I can't pretend to do couple stuff and have sex with him anymore. The only plan I have is to move in with my cousin a few states away. It's an extreme, but I don't know what else to do. I can't talk to anyone because the whole situation is embarrassing. Top comments. Commenter 1. If you are American revenge porn can get jail time, let him know. He doesn't go call the cops, tell them he will not leave and he threatened revenge porn. Also mention you never allowed him to film you. His experience will not be a very happy one. Commenter 2. Not to mention, if she has text proof of his friend putting his hand between her legs and groping her, you can tag on sexual assault for the friend and hopefully something extra for the BF too. Commenter 3. A leaked sex tap is illegal. He will go to jail. If you have records of threats via text or voicemail, save them. The best you can do in the meantime is to tell him you have to work one day and just don't go back. Sign everything to get out of a lease if you are in one. Then call your cell provider and change your number. Commenter 4. A leaked, illegally made sex tape. That little detail will add some spice to the arrest report. Stories number 21. Aita for refusing to engage with my sister's pettiness, where she's trying to use a baby name she and the rest of our family agreed to save for me to use. My younger sister, 26F, has 3 boys and she's expecting her first girl. I, 32M, don't have kids yet, but my wife and I just started trying. Our maternal grandmother died when I was 5 and before the rest of my siblings were born. She lived with my parents and me and I adored her. I was the only grandchild who remembers her. So several years ago my siblings and cousins agreed that the name should be saved for me, to use if I had a daughter. They told me about it and they told the rest of our family. My sister was supposedly in agreement at the time, but after becoming a mom the first time my sister turned into an immature and petty brat. She turns the weirdest stuff into a competition. Like who can have the most kids? Or who gets the most stuff for their baby? Or who can get the most compliments on their cooking? She'd brag to me that she was the first of mom and dad's kids to make them grandparents, and she'd ask me if I was going to be a grandpa before I had any kids. She'd whine at me and our other siblings if we met up when she couldn't make it. She expected us to wait until she could come and even expected us to plan our birthdays around her. Then she wanted us to add her name to a gift for mom and dad without her contributing anything. Not the planning, the paying or the getting of the gift. It's exhausting and her lifelong friends and other family members have complained about it too. Now she's decided she's going to use our maternal grandma's name for her daughter. She told me in front of our parents, siblings, her partner and my wife. She was smirking and said that we clearly weren't having kids, even though she knows we started trying. She doesn't feel like the name should be saved for me and she deserves it and her baby deserves it as the first granddaughter. The rest of our family protested the decision, but I just told her she was entitled to name her child what she likes and I changed the subject. It drove her crazy and she told me I was trying to make her look bad by giving in just like that. My wife asked her how that would make her look bad and wouldn't fighting me over it be worse. The rest of our family said the name should be saved for the only grandchild who remembered her and how it was agreed they would save it for me. The rest of my siblings were like, you shouldn't let her get away with this pettiness. I feel that not engaging is better. Does it upset me a little? Sure. Could I use the name anyway? Yeah, but my wife and I agree it would be better not to. We might not even have a daughter. And if we do we'll figure it out, but we don't want my sister taking it out on our hypothetical future daughter. My wife said she might go for a different name because I don't fight her on it and maybe. It's possible. Grandma's name is very different to names she typically likes. Either way just let her use it if she wants is my stance. A stance my family thinks I'm crazy for and they've told me I'm letting her walk all over me. Aita. Stories number 22. Aita for only taking care of my full little sister. I, 30M, have a younger sister, 16F, Lara. I've basically raised this girl like my daughter. I love her like she's my own child. Our mom died when Lara was a year old, I was 15. Our father was a wealthy man with a revolving door of younger women, who my sister grew up resenting. Whatever our father was, he loved us both very much. He was a workaholic, which left me caring for my sister most of the time. Even though she had a nanny, she had extreme separation anxiety. When I started college, our father bought me an apartment so I didn't have to stay in a dorm. It turned into me raising my sister throughout college and business school. She stayed at my apartment with her nanny during school hours, and I took care of her when I came home. I never missed a single competition or spelling bee, even through school, which I don't regret. That's what I mean when I say I raised her. About 3 years ago, our father started dating a much younger woman, 25F. She got pregnant and gave birth to a daughter. I was never involved with the kid. One time, I took my sister to visit because our father requested it. It ended with her being an emotionally distraught mess for a week. She felt like she was being replaced. Any time I brought up the kid, she would cry. So I refused to see the kid again. Our father died unexpectedly 6 months ago. He never married the woman, and she didn't get a penny in the will. The kid got a small lump sum, but nothing like the trusts my sister and I received. I don't think he cared for the kid very much, but the woman wanted it. I used to joke to my sister that the girl was just a compromise kid. Lately, the woman has started badgering me. She says she can't raise a child on her own and it's unfair that I'm protective of my sister but won't do the same for my other sibling. I corrected her and said I had no relation or obligation to her child. Her child being around hurts my sister, and she is my priority. She got angry and said I can't spoil one sister and neglect another. She said her child doesn't have a father now and needs a male presence. I told her to contact my lawyer. Then she somehow got my sister's number and sent her texts calling her cruel for keeping me away. I had to be up all night consoling my sister, telling her I wouldn't see this girl and she had nothing to worry about. I called the woman again and threatened legal action if she kept harassing my sister. Now she's calling my aunts and uncles, saying I'm vindictive and cruel. Stories number 23. New downstairs apartment neighbor, kid loves to scream. Is my way of handling it reasonable? I've been a tenant at my current apartment for 2 years. The apartments are the nicest in my area, and I pay quite a good chunk in rent monthly for a 1BR 1BA. Everyone in my building has been pretty chill, there's 8 units total, occasional one-off things but nothing serious, until recently. Old downstairs neighbor left, new downstairs neighbor moved in shortly after, about 2 to 3 weeks ago. Main problem is her kid cries pretty much all day, and has a tendency to scream quite a bit. The crying isn't something I'm interested in bitching about, but the screaming definitely warrants addressing because it's clear she's not trying to teach her kid to not scream, it seems more behavioral, not a newborn screaming. I can see the screaming becoming a bit of a problem in the long run. Is it reasonable to tip my landlord apartment off that this is what I'm noticing, and if it becomes a problem in the future I'd like to address it? I feel like it's reasonable because it creates a track record. Relevant comments. How old is the child and if they are walking around yet? Commenter 1, I think 2 to 4 years old. Definitely not an infant. The kid was walking outside yesterday and screaming on its own accord. Yes, the kid is walking. I forgot to mention the kid and mom were outside yesterday and the kid was screaming a hell of a lot. I was on my deck. The kid was definitely walking on his own. I'm going to be completely honest though, I have no experience with kids and don't know what exact age that would narrow it down to. Maybe 2 to 4. Did OOP have any problems with any neighbors besides the mother and child? Reply, Sorry dude, I've lived here 2 years and never had an issue with a neighbor until now and have definitely had times when people were loud. But this is completely different than occasional noise. Commenter 2, you need to file for a rent reduction. It's violating the lease. It doesn't matter if it's a TV, barking or screaming, it's excess noise. That's the new way to have these property owner people step up and tell these entitled families to shut their kids up. I'm living next to it, so there's not much I can do except stick a speaker out the window or headphones. I'm neurodivergent, so I'm sensitive to noise. I'm sure they're going to say the kid is as an excuse for their crappy parenting. Most autistic children, including myself, were told to shut up and learn to use indoor voices. Don't let them push you out of your apartment. Reply, yes, this is something I have been considering after asking GPT about potential options. Considering I've been here for 2 years plus, I'm not moving out of my unit to another and damn sure not moving out of my apartment complex because of a new tenant. I'm a bit neurodivergent as well, a bit ADD, managing CPTSD symptoms from childhood, so I'm sensitive to repetitive consistent noise. Have you filed for a rent reduction yet? I'm going to escalate things slowly if I have to, but I'm lucky to be able to afford a tenant lawyer and I know how to document if this gets to that point. Commenter 3, I can totally sympathize with you OP. You're paying premium rent with the expectation of being able to quietly enjoy your home. I'm pretty relaxed with most things, but noise, thumping music, screaming kids, and inconsiderate noise drives me absolutely crackers. Personally, I'd go straight to the landlord and/or apartment management to lodge your concerns. That's what they're there for and would need to know, as this tenant and her screaming kid could drive out you and potentially other good tenants. Might also pay to get some recordings of the noise you're experiencing and document all discussions, etc. It's a pain in the arse, however if you don't, it can wear you down and make your home life miserable. Reply, thank you, and yes, it's kind of shocking because I pay a premium to avoid the bad neighbors. Unfortunately, I've had bad neighbors twice prior, and I chose this spot because I felt confident I could stay here for a few years. And the building construction is relatively new and has the best soundproofing out of all the apartments in the area. So I'm definitely going to take your advice and go to my landlord and at least get it documented, that way if it continues to bug me at least I have some record. I think the major thing is it's definitely annoying now, but in 2 months like you said it's gonna make me miserable, so I gotta do it now. OOP should document the noises and bring them up to the authority of his building regarding the screaming child. Reply, don't worry, after they were screaming and yelling last night till about 11:30 p.m. with the parents doing absolutely nothing and it being audible in the entire common hallway between 8 units, I've got all of the audio and documentation I need. There's a difference between settling in and being a nuisance. Update, haven't read my previous thread? Take a look at it, it's titled, New Downstairs Apartment Neighbor, Kid Loves to Scream. Is my way of handling it reasonable? About 3 weeks ago, I decided to start recording the screams of my neighbor's 3 to 4-year-old kid and reported it to management. Management talked to them, and the downstairs neighbor would work on it. The neighbor the next day then made a retaliatory complaint about me, saying I walk loud, I'm on the top floor, she's on the bottom. The neighbor left for 9 days and took the kid somewhere else. I thought, wow, maybe they broke the lease and now I'm free of these gremlins. But something in my heart told me, this isn't over yet. These types of people are just too dumb and too self-righteous to leave without a fight. So me, expecting a war, purchased and installed 2 Nest cameras inside my apartment which pick up audio and video 24/7 with cloud storage for 10 days. Yes, I was that sure that I was dealing with a reckless person and had to protect myself. When she got back about a week and a half ago on Monday, May 19th, boy did she come back with a vengeance. She started pounding on my floor, her ceiling, with a broom handle or something at all hours of the day. Not because I was overly loud, because she was retaliating against the complaint I originally made and she was pissed. Every time she would bang, she got me more footage. It's funny because in the videos I would narrate myself explaining the entire situation while she was banging on my floor. Sometimes I'd be in the kitchen eating a Dunkin' sausage, egg and cheese croissant, walk over to the camera, and start saying, yes, today is 05/22/2025 at 3:02 p.m, as you can clearly hear my neighbors downstairs are banging in retaliation to a noise complaint I submitted about them, and just go on these mini rants to the camera. Then things escalated on Sunday 05/25 and she would not stop pounding on my floor around 10:30 p.m. She would 6 to 8 pound times, chill for a bit, then go right back to it. I have to say, I admire her consistency. But I had enough at this point. I don't pay $1,300 a month in rent to deal with this shit. So I called the non-emergency police line, waited for 45 minutes outside my apartment, and let the cops in to ask her what's going on with the noise. She refused to answer the door to the police, but I still got a police incident number and planned to pick the police incident up in paper form in person on Tuesday 05/27, because the police station documentation office is not open on Memorial Day Monday 05/26. So the next day goes by, and it's Monday 05/26. I hear some loud knocking on my front door. Strange, maybe it's the gremlins finally coming to confront me. I ignore it for a minute and it keeps going on. So I said, "Go away," while showing the Nest camera a timestamp of my phone in case it was them. Then they announced they were in a CRTMYTOWN police department. Fuck. I opened the door and said, "Hi guys, what's up?" And they said, "We're here on a call regarding your interactions with the female downstairs," and I said, "Are you talking about the incident from yesterday?" And they said, "No, this is about today, she called dispatch about you 5 minutes ago, can we please come in?" And I said, "No, but we can go talk downstairs outside the apartment if you'd like." And I left the door open so the police could see me as I got a shirt on and came down with them. The police asked me what interaction I had with her that day and I said none, as I've never talked to this woman before in my life, which is the truth. I've never spoken to her or communicated with her in any way. Then they said that she called dispatch and said that I was intoxicated, that I had threatened her from my patio, that she was a single mom with a kid, and that we had a relationship together. This is a domestic dispute setup. So I showed the cops the video footage of what I was doing for the past hour, literally chilling with my cat, giving him those beloved belly rubs, and tidying up some stuff in my apartment from 2 angles. They let me go in 5 minutes. That was on Monday 05/26, the next day on Tuesday 05/27 I went to the police department and got a copy of both police incidents, as well as getting her full name from the incident. I also contacted my friend who is a county prosecutor and a lawyer and retained him as my lawyer to start work on a cease and desist letter. He also mentioned, she tried to set me up for a domestic dispute because our county has a rule where if it's a domestic dispute they hold you for a minimum of 24 hours. I then went to management and alerted them that they have a tenant who's been pounding on my floor, providing them all documentation, written notes from Google Docs, videos from Google Drive, and they did not give a shit. They literally said, "BBU, can we just all have a meeting about this? I'm sure we can work it out." At that moment I knew how fucked I was. I've been a tenant here for 2 years, plead my case for 20 minutes to prove my innocence and how bad this other tenant was, and their main reply was, "Let's all have a meeting together, hee." So I said, "Sure, I'll bring my lawyer. We're just gonna have to ask her why she falsely informed police that I threatened her so we can pursue legal action against her." "That shouldn't be a problem, right?" They replied, "UHOHNONO need to pay an attorney just to come to this fucking clown show." So throughout the rest of the week I've barely been sleeping, maybe 2 or 3 hours a night. I'm just afraid of her saying something more extreme this time, like I'm drunk and have a gun, and the cops kicking my door in and ending my existence. But all evidence is on my Google Drive shared with my lawyer, my family, and an ex that I'm on really good terms with. I've instructed them if I do get jailed or SWAT'd over this, to sue everyone into oblivion, and have provided so much documentation they'll have a strong case. My lawyer also finished with the cease and desist letter which I'm sending to the gremlins below today through certified mail. Then I'll be pursuing symbolic damages via small claims court, suing them for $5 for 5 different reasons, $1 a reason, then building a bigger lawsuit against them. I'll also be attempting to work with the police to get a charge against them for false informing. I have promised myself and whatever entity is out there in this universe that I will make this woman desolate for trying to ruin my name, frame me for something I didn't do, and potentially jail or have me harmed by police. If it's the last fucking thing I do, I will pursue this to the furthest realms civilly and lawfully. For now I am fully prepared to move if she does not move by the end of next week, since management is not doing anything. That's pretty much the end of this update, Reddit. I'm sure I'll have some more news in a few weeks. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Your property managers suck and are knowingly allowing harassment and possibly endangerment. Bring your lawyer to talk to them too. Up to team. Reply, yeah, they're manipulative and idiotic. They said that the pounding noises are possibly the pipes, and I said, great, there are no pipes in the floors. Please send maintenance over and we can test that theory. At this point they're trying to get me to leave the best they can, even though I've been a good tenant, never had a complaint before, and always paid rent on time for 2+ years. Commenter 1. They get you to leave and the next tenant above this monster of a woman may not take such a relaxed approach. Reply, agreed, it's a highly risky situation for all parties. But all these idiots in management are concerned about is keeping both units filled and paying. Aside from that, they genuinely don't care about anything. Commenter 2. I would not sue 5x for $1 each. That makes you look petty and unreasonable. File for a restraining order. When she violates it, she can be arrested and you can file for contempt. A C&D letter is a waste of time. Reply, It's symbolic damages to establish a trail in small claims. I still have the option to pursue a bigger lawsuit in the future. A restraining or protective order is highly unlikely to work, but I am filing for one today. The problem is I don't have anything directly linking her to me as we've never directly communicated, so it's hard to win. But I am hoping it works. Commenter 3, I would go above the property managers. Find the owner. There's nothing worse than a pissed off owner who is paying a company to manage their property, and they have to intervene. Reply, even if the property manager is on staff. That's actually a solid idea because I've got to escalate this shit somehow. Commenter 4, call the police department again and have them attach a note to your name apartment. They should be able to enter a note in the system so that every time your name or address is entered in the CAD system it essentially gives them a warning label that they can click on with notes. If they are smart, they would also attach it to her name or at least reference you pursuing legal action due to these issues and the cameras you have set up inside for this reason. It is not foolproof, but it could be a flashing red light that catches their attention before responding. Reply, yeah, I've been needing to get in touch with them. Think calling the non-emergency line for this should be fine. Stories number 24. My mom tried to breastfeed my newborn because she missed the feeling. I, 24F, gave birth 3 weeks ago to my daughter, my first child. It's been a rough recovery and we've had trouble with latching, so I've mostly been pumping and using formula to supplement. My mom came to stay with us to help, but her help has been more criticism than anything useful. She constantly tells me I'm doing everything wrong, I'm not holding the baby right, not burping her enough, not bonding with her properly because I'm not breastfeeding directly. I've tried to let it go, she's always been this way, but what happened yesterday was absolutely insane. I was in the shower and came out to find my mom in the nursery with my daughter on her chest, attempting to nurse her. She had pulled down her shirt and was pressing my daughter's face to her breast. I freaked out. She looked up, completely calm, and said, "Relax, she wasn't getting anything. I just missed the feeling. You wouldn't understand, you're not bonding with her like I did with you." I lost it. I screamed at her to get out, told her she was violating my daughter and completely crossing a line. She acted like I was overreacting and said I was being hormonal. My husband made her pack her stuff and leave immediately. Now some extended family members are blowing up my phone saying I humiliated her and she was just trying to help. By pretending my baby is her own. I don't even know what to feel right now. I feel violated on behalf of my daughter. Who does that? Stories number 25. Aita for keeping my dad as a civil acquaintance instead of family because he married a woman who talked shit about my mom. My parents divorced when I, 33M, was 9 and my sister was 7. After a couple of years my dad started dating Susan, and she talked shit about my mom despite not meeting her until her and dad got engaged. My sister and I told our dad we didn't like or approve of Susan and he told us he loved her and we should give her a chance because she was a great person. Susan continued to talk shit about my mom and we called her out on it regularly. When she and my dad had some kids together she told us it was wrong to correct the mother of our siblings and we were being unfair to the kids. Dad told us we should ignore her when she talks about mom and look at her as a person in her own right and judge her that way. I know I didn't give details of Susan talking shit about mom, so I'll explain a few. She'd ask what kind of mom let her son wear pink. She called my mom Looney Tunes for having a mental illness. She'd call mom lazy because we got school lunches instead of homemade ones despite dad also paying for us to get school lunches and not making them. She repeatedly said my mom had an annoying voice and it made her want to attack mom. All of this before she met or spoke to my mom. And that's not all of it, even before they met. As soon as I turned 17 I stopped going to dad's house and only answered the phone when I felt like it. As an adult I have maintained a civil but distant relationship with my dad. He's not someone I treat like family and I have nothing to do with his wife or their kids. That isn't something I want to change and I have told dad that civil acquaintances is the best he'll ever get from me. My sister has communicated something very similar to him. Dad was hurt he was invited to neither of our weddings and that we have not included him in the families we're both building now. He saw my oldest 2 kids once and that was brief. Other than that time, there hasn't been a time where we were in the same room since I turned 17. He has asked why we can't all get along and be a family again and I told him he chose to marry the woman who talked shit about my mom. I said I was extremely disappointed in him as a dad after that. And that I want better for my kids. And I would never in a million years let his wife's presence ruin moments for my family. I also told him I would never ever want her around my kids. I told him that I held a very different opinion of his wife than he did and I did not find her good company or worthy of being in my children's lives. He told me it's cruel to treat him like a random person when he's my dad and I told him he knew the deal. Then I suggested we just end all contact and he said no, he doesn't want to lose me, he wants to bring me back into the family. I told him it would never happen and he needs to figure out what he wants. He called me stubborn and said I should give it a chance because I don't even know his other kids, which is wrong. I really don't care. I never felt anything for my half-siblings and I don't have a wish to know them. AITA for keeping my relationship with dad the way it has been for the last 15 years. Stories number 26. To foo by buying my wife a bra. Yes, I foo again. I really actually don't feel I've done anything wrong. My wife disagrees. All summer she has been complaining about her sweaty tits. How she's ruining all her good bras with Cheb sweat. She's paranoid about under-boob sweat lines, etc., etc. Now this isn't my first rodeo, so I stuck to just sympathetically listening and nodding at appropriate times. No comments that could be misconstrued as me criticizing her breasts or her sweatiness or anything like it. She's not even any sweatier than the average person and her breasts are incredible, but I digress. And absolutely no way in hell was I going to try to solve her problem. Only a husband who is an idiotic masochist would do that, right? But then last week I got an email from the company she buys her period pants from. Each newsletter sign-up gets money off their order, so a while back she had also signed up using my email address to get an extra promo code. I don't have a menstrual product fetish or anything, I swear. Anyway, the subject line caught my eye. The Sweatproof bra. A match made in leak-proof heaven. Obviously any sane person would delete the email, but as I said, I'm an idiotic masochist. Plus, the email said this bra would be my wife's new breast friend. Who was I to keep her from her breast friend? So I checked out the sizes of her other bras and then placed an order. It arrived an hour or so ago. I knew what it would be, so handed it to her unopened. Here babe, this is for you. Ooh, what is it? It's a bra. At this point I see the glint in her eyes and realize my mistake. Sure enough, instead of the sexy lingerie she was hoping for, she pulls out her large, beige utilitarian-looking, sweatproof bra. Well, I'm sure you can imagine how it went from there, and my foolish muttering of boo. But the ad said it would be your new breast friend didn't help matters. Because apparently I'm the only sweaty tit here. I don't find her sexy anymore. I'll have you know that those sweaty breasts fed and nourished our children. And just what, exactly, am I getting at anyway? Am I trying to say she has saggy boobs? That she needs a new bra? A more supportive one, for her aging sag bags. This is just like me, to try to solve a problem, rather than letting her vent. So yeah, that went well. She has taken the kids to their swimming lesson and then for ice cream, so I have 2 hours or so to try to salvage things, somehow. Crotchless pants. For fucking sisters and not one of them is free to answer the phone. For iterations of, sorry I'm busy, is it an emergency, texts. So I'm on my own with this one. I think she'll be more willing to listen to my apology when she returns. She knows I am a well-meaning idiot. And I think she is beautiful and sexy and deserving of lingerie, not beige, sweat-eating monstrosities. TLDR, please, take heed of my lesson, no matter how much she complains about her tit sweat, do nothing. Update 1. Edit, they're just back. She has ice cream for me and a sheepish grin lol. I imagine we will be laughing about this after the kids go to bed. Like someone said, possibly my delivery, as if it was going to be a great present, contributed to her reaction. As did the fact I haven't bought her sexy underwear in a long time. And she may well be going through the premenopause. We have an incredible relationship, she is so funny, kind, caring, laid back, witty and a million other good things. Her reaction was baffling, it was so out of character. Anyway, I'm going to read the kids their stories and put them to bed. They always sleep incredibly well after swimming, so hopefully we can both enjoy her sweaty breasts soon enough lol. P.S. Please don't call her a bitch, twat, or any other derogatory term that she has been called here. She is amazing and I love her more than anything. Update. Edit 2, Jesus Christ, how long were we shagging for? This really gained traction whilst I was gone. She now knows about the post and finds the whole thing hilarious. Thank you for the funny comments and EFFU for the hurtful ones, thankfully this is in the minority. I didn't include the company, cause it might seem like some weird ad campaign, although maybe they wouldn't describe their own products as looking utilitarian, lol, but seeing as so many people asked, the brand is Modi Bodhi. Not sure about the bras, as yet untried, but my wife thoroughly recommends their period pants. Stories number 27. Aita for saying I'll report my credit card stolen and cut my family medical insurance if she insisted on adding the neighbors. My first language isn't English, so be nice. Last month I put my credit card information so my family, 25F, my mom, 49F, my dad, 52M, and my little brother, 10M, could get a medical insurance. My parents offered to pay it back at the end of the month or whatever they can since they don't have formal jobs. I was perfectly okay with that. The first month went perfectly fine. The second month my mom said she would use the benefit of being able to add 2 people more without paying more. The first person was one uncle who lost his job and have some serious medical issues. That was fine. The second person was the neighbor's baby. Not related at us. Not even good neighbors. The thing is that you still had to pay for stuff when you make an appointment. You can pay in the moment or on the next month bill, and I know this people, they won't pay anything they owe. I started arguing with my mom because why are she offering this stuff to other people, and her answer, supported by my dad, is that since I didn't have them a grandchild, they wanted to be involved on a baby life, so they offered that to the neighbors. So I told my mom that it doesn't matter if she paid back or whatever, if I found a single appointment from them on the bill I'll report the credit card stolen and she would have to find a way to pay it. We aren't in a good position economically to add a baby that isn't us to the equation because they want to play grandma and grandpa. More info: where we live we had public and free medical attention. We got the insurance just in case because they called and offered. Stories number 28. Aita for asking for a separate check. So I go out to eat with my boyfriend's family a lot for context. It's him, me, his 4 siblings, one of the siblings' girlfriend, the mom and their stepdad. Every time we go out the check is split 4 ways, my BF and I together, his brother and his girlfriend, the mom, and the stepdad, no matter how little or much I ordered, which is don't think is right for anyone, because if I ordered 4 chicken tacos, why am I paying for your 3 beers, 2 apps and entree? So yesterday the waitress came and I asked for my BF and I to have a separate check. They all looked at me crazy. So they said no, together we split it. I said no, I'm paying for him and I. He told me no, he wanted it together, so I said okay, you'll just pay for my food. I ordered an appetizer and a side Caesar salad. The tab was almost $400, why am I splitting it when my food was $25? So they got mad. I explained I was not paying for stuff I didn't order and I'm not paying for her children's meals. When I ordered 2 things. They all got mad and said well, we all are splitting it. I said that's fine, y'all can split it and they'll pay for my meal. I left the restaurant by myself and didn't attend the things they had planned afterwards, because the situation was obviously not over. Me BF going mad at me and said I embarrassed at the restaurant and for not attending. I'm at a loss honestly. It's the next day and everyone is still mad. Stories number 29. Aita for refusing to let my sister borrow my expensive dress to wear to my ex-fiance's wedding. So I, 30F, have a younger sister Mia, 27F, and we've always had a complicated relationship. She's often been jealous of me and my achievements. Last year my fiancé Ben dumped me super suddenly and very publicly. He's now engaged to my former friend, Zoe. Their wedding is next month, and honestly, this whole thing has been rough on me. Recently, I bought a stunning, expensive designer dress for a fancy charity event I'm going to next month. It's a special dress and I felt like I deserved to treat myself after everything. Yesterday, Mia saw the dress and immediately asked to borrow it to wear to Ben and Zoe's wedding. She said, "It's perfect. I need to look amazing, and you're not even using it right now." I was floored. I told her no, that it's for my event, and it would feel so wrong for her to wear it to that wedding. She got super mad and called me ridiculous and selfish, telling our parents I'm a terrible sister for saying no. Aita for not letting her borrow my dress, especially for that wedding. Stories number 30. Aita for telling neighbors kids can't come over anymore. With summer approaching here, this has been weighing on me. We, 42F and 49M, have next-door neighbors who for the last few summers, and times during the school year, have been basically using me, teacher, summers off, as free childcare. Their 2 kids show up at our house to play with my kids in the morning and most days stay all day until dinner. The parents have never even asked if this is okay. The kids just see us outside and come over, or they come knock at my door. The kids always play in my yard, so I feel responsible for supervising everyone. These kids have joined in on family birthday parties, playdates with my kids' friends and cousins, and even holidays. They just show up in our yard. I have long thought their mom was not aware of how often the kids are at my house. She works long hours outside the house and dad WFH. So, getting to me question, I cannot take these kids showing up at my house uninvited to play every day again this summer. Aita for texting the parents and telling them they need to ask through a certain text message chain before sending their kids over to my house. Or to say please stop sending them uninvited to my house. I am questioning this because my kids really do like playing with theirs. But, I feel that I never have any downtime or peace the last few summers and want to avoid that going forward. What do you think? Stories number 31. Aita for saying no to my friend for the art they gave me. So about 10 months ago, my friend gave me 3 little artwork pieces that they thought were really ugly and they hated. I absolutely adore them and I think they're very pretty, so I have them in my living room, and so I redecorated my living room and rearranged everything so I could have these paintings in a very specific spot. One day they were over and one of my friends that they have yet to meet until that day was over as well. My other friend who did not give me the artwork looked up the art pieces through Google Lens because they also liked them and wanted to get some for themselves. That friend found out that the artwork that was given to me was worth $1,000 per piece. And I said, wow, that's an insane price. So the friend who gave me the art pieces told me that I needed to give them back to him. And he started taking him off the wall and I said absolutely not. You gave those to me. He started yelling at me because I wouldn't give them back. Then he said I better pay him $3,000 for all of them and I said no because you gifted them to me almost a year ago. So he told me that he was gonna call the police and he left because me and my other friend kicked him out. Am I the asshole for keeping them? Stories number 32. Aita for not bringing my niece shopping after she was extremely rude mean to me, even if she apologized. I do not have kids, and I also have not really had a lot of experience dealing with kids before my niece. I don't have younger siblings or cousins, I never babysat, etc. I'm explaining this because this is my blind spot and why I'm posting. About a month ago, my niece, Gabby, and I were at the park together. I like to spend time with her and usually take her out to do things just the two of us every couple of weeks. While we were at the park, I was talking about an event I am going to attend with my boyfriend of a few years. She asked to see my dress, so I showed her a pic of me in it. She made a yucky face and said, "That's so ugly. You look really fat." Isn't my boyfriend gonna think it's bad? I was so hurt. She's only 13. I'm not even a big girl in any sense. I have fat on my body, but I am definitely not fat. My sister was surprised and said she would talk to her. A few days later she had Gabby come over to apologize. From my POV, it was not sincere. She was rolling her eyes and looked angry and just got out the words. I told her thank you for apologizing and then told them to leave. I have not gone out my way to spend time with her since. I had told Gabby that I would take her shopping for the summer and we'd pick out fun stuff together. I look forward to doing things like this with her. Not really anymore. When we were at my mom's house for Mother's Day, Gabby asked me when we would go. After her stunt I've changed my mind. I said that she probably has plenty of summer clothes to wear. She was upset and said, but I said I was sorry, over and over. I told her that I know she said she was sorry, but just because someone says they're sorry to you doesn't mean that your actions are forgiven. That you have to prove to the other person you won't do it again, and she hasn't. My mom and sister say I'm expecting adult behavior from a child and that it was ridiculous to cancel the shopping date. I am apparently beefing with a child at my big age. They said that she apologized and hasn't said anything else rude to me since. They asked how long I'm going to hold it against her. I really don't know how to take this. I trust their judgment most of the time. But this was just an outright mean thing from her. I am worried that as she grows up this behavior will continue and she will turn out to be a bully. Stories number 33. I fucked up financially and I'm in over my head. I, 22M, bought a house a little over a year ago by myself, $2,000 monthly payment. I was driving a falling apart car that I can't keep putting more money into. So now, like an idiot, I bought a new car, super reliable and everything, but since a cop got me for a major speeding violation, also incredibly stupid on my part, my insurance will be $300 more expensive for at least another 1.5 years and I was not anticipating that, on top of a car payment that was already cutting in close. I can't return the car, my other car needs work to be able to drive, so now I've fucked myself. Completely my fault. Completely my own stupidity, but here I am. I might just go into debt and it's really stressing me out, especially because I'm day 3 of nicotine withdrawals, because this isn't how I envision my future, but I suppose no one knows how it goes. So now I'm trying to find side hustles now like DoorDash or something on the weekends so I can try to make some extra cash. Just needed to vent this because I'm not sleeping well at night because I'm so stressed about it. Thank you. Stories number 34. Aita for how I responded to my nanny kids camp calling. I'm a nanny to a 6-year-old boy and 2-year-old girl. The job has gotten more complicated over the past year due to the parents divorcing. I work for the mom on her weeks and I occasionally help the dad out when his mom can't watch the kids. The job is pretty great though. The mom and I have become good friends and I love the kids. The 6-year-old got out of school 2 weeks ago and is in camp now. The thing with camp is, he tends to be over it by 2-3ish, so I get a lot of calls. He has a stomach ache, his head hurts, he's not feeling well, where he acts sick until we go home, then he's bouncing off the walls and jumping on the couch. We've talked multiple times about it. There's no problem with any staff or other kids. He's just over it. I was on vacation all week. Yesterday I got a call from the camp, and when I answered the kid started telling me that he hit his lip on a table that morning and a mosquito bit him on the playground, so now his arm hurts and he wants to go home. I talked to him about his day for a minute, reminded him that I was on vacation and wouldn't be able to hop on a plane to pick him up, then talked to the counselor to make sure there weren't any serious issues. Hung up, texted the mom to let her know about the call, and went about my day. Then last night the dad started texting me furious that I dismissed his injury, reminded me about his extremely mild mosquito allergy. Counselor already said someone at camp gave him his Zyrtec, so he's absolutely fine, and thinks I should have contacted him, his mom, or asked the kid's mom to get him after the camp called me. The mom told me not to worry about it, but I know the kid already does have anxiety issues, so I'm wondering if I did something wrong by telling him he'd have to tough it out until his parents could get him and not contacting someone to pick him up. Stories number 35. Entitled colleague wants me to cover her shift and mine too while she partied. I work in a place where we run shifts. A colleague of mine recently approached me asking if I could cover her shift because she had a girls' trip planned. I said, sure, I can help you out, but when you're back, you'll need to cover one of my shifts so I can get some rest too. That way, everything stays balanced. Her response: wait, you mean I'll also have to work your shift when I get back? I said, yes, so I can rest and the shift coverage stays fair. Then she goes, no, I thought you were just helping me. I want you to work my shift and your shift. Like, I wouldn't have to work yours, it's just a help. So basically, she wanted me to give up my rest, do double shifts, and she'd just come back from her trip like nothing happened. I told her, in that case, you'll have to work your own shift and I'll work mine. I'm not covering for you anymore. She looked at me and said, you're not a good colleague, and walked away. So she wanted me to give up my rest, do double shifts, and she'd just come back from her trip like nothing happened. Stories number 36. I can only take leave in full day increments. Works for me. I accumulate annual leave at a certain number of hours week, and after one has accumulated 480 hours, you lose any leave until you bring the balance under 480. I'd take 3 hours of leave a week to keep just under 480, and it would just bug my boss that someone would want to do that. So, he heads over to HR to explain the situation. They tell him the official policy is that leave is to be taken in full day increments. They also tell him that we shouldn't be changing our timesheets to reflect the hours worked, since we're all salary, so just go ahead and approve them as is, unless we have holiday to put down. He says the idea behind this is that since we're salary, the company knows we'll have heavy weeks and lighter weeks, and it'll be a wash in the end. Okay, so I've been losing my 3 hours of leave a week, but I haven't worked a full week in months. At most I've put in 30 hours. I just try to be efficient with my time to make it work. Oftentimes, I'll work 1 hour and call it a day. Took a 5-minute work call while on holiday. Thanks for keeping me from burning a full day of leave. I thought the other way was more honest to the company, but they schooled me on how real business works. Stories number 37. Entitled woman wants my takeout order because she is in a hurry. I stopped by a local Thai spot to pick up a takeout order I'd called in about 25 minutes earlier. I get there, give my name, and the guy at the counter says, yep, just finishing it up, it'll be out in a minute. No problem. Then this woman who came in after me marches up to the counter and says loudly, I need that order. I'm in a rush. The cashier calmly tells her that it's already taken. She turns and points at me and goes, he looks like he can wait. I've got kids in the car. I kind of laugh, thinking it's a joke. It is not. She then says to me directly, come on, be kind, just let me take your food. You can wait for the next one. I say, ma'am, I ordered this 30 minutes ago and I'm taking it home to my family too. Then she actually tries to walk behind the counter to grab the bag that just came up. The cashier has to block her and say, ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to leave if you don't calm down. She storms out muttering about how selfish people are and how this is why the world's falling apart. I was so shocked. World falling apart over takeout. Stories number 38. Am I at fault for giving our new neighbor a plate? I'll keep this short and sweet. There was a new neighbor that moved in 2 floors below us the other day. My boyfriend and I noticed him earlier in the day moving stuff, so later on when we were back outside and saw him again, I said hello. My boyfriend left for work and I started to walk back in and he asked really quick, hey, this is so stupid, but do you have paper plates I can use? I have no plates, my stuff is everywhere and I just put a pizza in the oven for myself and my son. I said no, but I'll go grab you a plate, no problem. He brought the plate back, thanked me, introduced me to his son, and told me that me and my boyfriend can come down and have a drink whenever. I told my boyfriend what happened and he freaked out on me. Yelled at me. He said I'm dumb for letting him know where we live. But we live in the same outside building. The guy would have eventually saw us walk into our unit. He said I was dumb for letting him use our plate and how dangerous that was. He could have killed me. He can't believe I did that. And he told me he wants to look for separate apartments now because I don't care about our safety. He hung up on me and we haven't spoken in 2 days. It was the middle of the day and the guy had his kid with him. I didn't go inside his place or let him in ours. Am I crazy? Edit. I forgot to add that when we saw him he didn't have shoes on. He had ran outside without shoes to grab something from his car, which is not abnormal to me. But my boyfriend pointed that out and said because he was outside with no shoes on that he's weird and furthers proves the point that he might be an alcoholic or criminal. Update. Am I at fault for giving my new neighbor a plate? Hi all. I'll keep this short and sweet. About a year ago I posted in here about me giving my new neighbor a plate and my boyfriend going absolutely bonkers over it. I wasn't sure how to update that post because it was archived and I can't make any changes or reply to comments now. It is still up for you to find and read. Sorry, I'm not very Reddit savvy. Short version: if you don't want to reread that post, I gave our new neighbor a plate because he had just moved into our complex and didn't unpack his yet. I told my BF about it and he freaked out on me. Told me I was stupid for putting us in danger like that. The guy is obviously a criminal. Threatened to look at separate apartments, etc. That post got a lot of attention so I thought you all deserved an update. I left. The relationship got increasingly worse. He started accusing me of things I didn't do. He had a habit of telling me all of my opinions were wrong and I needed to follow his lead if I wanted to be a wife. Making up delusions to start arguments. Called me out of my name. Turned the TV on volume 100 and refused to turn it down while I was trying to sleep. Which resulted in me finally trying to leave, but he would cry and say he was going to change. He never did, blamed everything on me, and I ended up living in hell. He left in January of this year and I am healing, in therapy, and trying to reprogram my brain. Thank you for all the comments telling me to run. It took me a bit but I did. Edit. He left, as in he moved out of our apartment. Breakup was not easy and was not a clean cut. Been no contact for about a month now. Stories number 39. If your pay raise isn't enough, quit. Okay then, I first wrote this 4 years ago for this sub, when a lot of you enjoyed it. I've rewritten and updated, expanded it and corrected some mistakes. Enjoy. This took place around December 1992 to January 1993. I got a job as a security guard after leaving the army, because I wasn't qualified to do much else, and I hadn't decided if I was going to college yet or not. The company refused to pay very much so they had high turnover. Because of the turnover, they had small raises built in at 90 days, 6 months and a year as an incentive to stay on. I needed a job, and until I had my shit together, this would do. So I showed up and worked. My 1-year anniversary rolls around and I don't see my 50 cents an hour raise in my paycheck, but something more like 35 cents. So I called the boss. My 3 and 6 month raises had been delivered with no issues, so I was surprised my 1-year anniversary hadn't shown up. Supposedly they wanted to give all employees a raise, so they did. And yes, I got a small raise, along with all the other guards, a few hundred of us. It was something like 35 cents an hour for each of us. Okay, fine, but what about my promised 50 cents an hour? As far as I was concerned, this 35 cents an hour was something you initiated, after promising me more, so this is bonus. When I called the manager, I was told I wasn't going to get a raise for my 1-year raise because, you just got a raise, no one gets 2 raises at once. If your pay raise isn't enough, quit. In other words, they were trying to claim a 35 cent an hour raise for every employee somehow was overriding the fact that I was owed an additional 50 cent an hour longevity raise. I'm sure there were others caught up like that. Fine. They want to give me 35 cents an hour of a raise and tell me that is equal to the 85 cents an hour. I'll find something better. I spent the next week calling in sick and showing up late while job hunting. Called the office at the end of my last day, and told them I was done and they could find someone else, giving them no notice at all. Panic mode ensued. Everyone else was at 40 hours for the week and they hated paying overtime. One of the salaried managers had to cover for me. They told me to quit, so I did. I'm a teacher now, near retirement. My raises are still shit. But at least I can, barely, live off of it, and I have a shitty union for now, which is more than I had then. A few more cents an hour and they could have kept me as a wage slave. Crazy that I would even consider it now, looking back on it. At least I enjoy my job today, as crazy as the kids are. Stories number 40. How do I politely tell my coworker that I do not care about her baby? I, 22F, very recently started working my first office job, about 4 months now, and have been thoroughly enjoying it. I have autism and navigating the corporate workspace has been difficult, but I think I've been doing well with the adjustment. However, I've run into a particular problem in regards to one of my coworkers. She very recently had a baby and has been constantly trying to show me pictures. While of course, I'm happy for her and her family and was more than happy to look at the first few and congratulate her. I am, quite frankly, over it. It has been weeks of her showing me pictures of her baby doing nothing remarkable with very little difference in the pictures. I don't want to make assumptions, but part of me wonders if this is in relation to an argument we had a few weeks ago in which I stated I would never have children and she told me I just needed a little convincing. Is this her trying to sell me the idea of motherhood, and if not, is there a way I can politely tell her that I'm not interested nor do I care about seeing any more pictures of her baby? Is this just something I have to put up with as part of the corporate experience? Edit. Thank you very much to everyone who gave me helpful advice. It can sometimes be very difficult to figure out what the rules are at work, especially in a newer environment. This morning, when she approached me to show me some pictures of her baby, I told her that I was very happy for her and her new baby but I had a lot of work to do. She told me, "Oh, all right, but I'll get you on board the mother train eventually." And then she winked. I have no idea what that means, even a little bit, but I think I win. The general consensus seems to be to pretend to be busy or change the subject. Again, I really appreciate everyone's advice. It seems that regardless of neurotypicality the corporate workplace is an enigma of social spaghetti. Thank you. Stories number 41. Aita for turning up at the house my partner's car was at. When he told me he was going somewhere else, me and this man had been together for just over 3 years. I suspected nothing. He told me he was going over to one of his guy friend's houses, a guy friend who I know, and whose house I know. He left and around 2 hours later my friend texts me saying, "Who does, partner, know who lives on, street name?" I said, "As far as I'm aware, nobody." Why? She told me his car was parked in the driveway of a house on a certain street in our town. So clearly he wasn't at his friend's house. I don't know if this is psycho behavior, but I asked her for the address, and I went there. I don't know why I didn't text him first or anything like that to see if he'd lie, or maybe he and his friend had gone to another person's house, I have no idea, but as soon as my friend said that, I just got in my car and went to see if it was his car. It was. I sat down the street and then texted him asking if he was having a good time. He texted back straight away and said he was, and that he and his friend were building his new PC together. So I knew instantly he was lying. I went over to the house and knocked on the door. A woman answered. I had no idea who she was, but I could tell by the way her face dropped that she knew exactly who I was. I kept my shit together and just said, "Tell him his shit will be on my front lawn when he wants to come and get it," and I left. Another hour passed and he came home while I was gathering up his things. He had the nerve to instantly start kicking off at me, telling me that me going there was psycho, and that I was crazy for pulling that stunt. I didn't say anything, just carried on gathering his things. He kept telling me to stop, and I didn't. He got in front of me and said stop. And that's when I lost it. I shoved him away from me and started crying, told him to get his shit and get out. I then locked myself in my office room and waited for him to leave. This happened last night. Some of his shit is still here. He didn't take much, seems he just took a bunch of his clothes and his toiletries. Haven't heard from him, and I haven't texted him either. But was I the a-holy for turning up to this house he was at? Stories number 42. My cousin brought her 3 kids to my child-free wedding and acted like I ruined the day. So yeah, me, 27F, had a small wedding last weekend, like under 40 people. We were super clear from day one that it was child-free. Not because we hate kids, but because it was at a vineyard, late night, alcohol-heavy vibes. My cousin, 31F, RSVP'd yes, no mention of kids. Day of. She rolls up with her 3 boys under 7, no warning. Just walks in like it's a family barbecue. My husband and I were literally about to walk down the aisle and my maid of honor had to intercept and ask her to leave them with someone or bounce. She causes a scene, starts crying, yelling that I'm excluding family, and breaking bonds. Her husband grabs the kids and storms out. She stayed, but sat there all night sulking like we killed her puppy. Now she's posting vague Facebook stuff about bridezillas and family who forgets where they came from, face with rolling eyes. Was I too harsh? Like, what do people not get about child-free meaning child-free? Stories number 43. Aita for insisting we split the bill based on what people actually ordered instead of evenly splitting the bill. I, 29M, went to dinner with a group of friends for my friend Jess's, 28F, birthday. There were 8 of us. The restaurant was one of those trendy tapas places but people mostly ordered for themselves. I eat mostly plant-based for medical reasons, don't drink, and stuck to a few small veggie dishes and a sparkling water. My total came out to about $27 with tip. When the bill came, Jess's boyfriend immediately said we should just split it evenly and everyone nodded along. For context, some of them ordered multiple rounds of cocktails, steak, dessert, the whole thing. Their totals were closer to $60 to $70 per person. I didn't say anything at first, but when they started doing the math I said I'd rather just pay for what I ordered. That did not go over well. One person said, "It's her birthday," and another said I was making it complicated. I calmly explained I didn't have any of the expensive stuff and I didn't think it made sense for me to chip in extra for things I didn't eat or drink. I Venmo'd $30, rounded up, and said happy birthday before heading out. I didn't make a big scene. Now I'm getting texts from people saying I made things awkward and was being cheap. Jess hasn't said anything, but I know some people are annoyed. For what it's worth, I've split evenly in the past when things were similar, but this was not that. I don't drink, I didn't eat any of the shared stuff, and I don't think it's fair to cover someone else's cocktails just because it's easier. My girlfriend said I was technically right but could have read the room better. Stories number 44. I got called into the principal's office for helping the cleaning lady. I'm 23 and it's my first year working as an elementary school teacher. A few days ago, I asked the cleaning lady how she was doing after she came back from sick leave. She told me she was exhausted and still recovering. I could tell, so since it was my break and I didn't have anything else to do, I offered to help. She said she'd appreciate it if I helped her throw out the trash, so I did. I didn't think much of it until I got called to the principal's office. The principal had found out I helped the janitor and was very upset. He said that it isn't my job and the janitor gets paid to clean the school, so she should do it herself. He said that I'm letting a janitor take advantage of me and I don't understand it because I'm young and naive, and also, that I'm there to be a teacher, not a cleaner. And then he told me to take this as advice from someone who's been working for far longer than I've been alive. I kindly explained to him that I was the one who offered to help and it only took me 5 minutes. He was not happy about it, so I apologized and left. I've been feeling down since and to be honest, a little embarrassed. I didn't mean for that to become such a big deal. Why do I feel so bad?